Mr. Williams, I hate to put you on the spot. Would you be so kind as to do the invocation and pledge of allegiance?
I'm on the spot. I think I will.
Thank you, sir.
Come here ready.
The bowed head. Thank you, Lord, for today. We come with a bowed head and a humble heart. Thank you for the many blessings that you bestowed upon us. Now I ask that you will clear our minds so that we can do the business of those who we represent and our community that we serve. Pray now that we can make decisions that will benefit our community. And we also ask that you will continue to bless the staff and which works here at ECUA so that they can do the work that is a day-to-day operation. We thank you and we love you. In Christ's name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Mr. Williams. You're a natural, my friend, a natural.
Chairman Stevens, if I can just take roll call real fast.
Sure.
Okay. Mr. Perkins?
Here.
Mr. Williams?
Here.
Chairman Stevens?
Here.
Ms. Campbell? And Ms. Benson? Thank you.
Okay, that moves us to item 3, adoption of agenda.
So move. Unless.
Mr. Williams?
Yeah, I think I'd like to add under new business, the gravity sewer policy or gravity sewer policy
Okay.
for discussion.
Right. Anything else?
No, and I will move with the addition, 14A.
Okay. Do I have a second? Ms. Benson seconds. Please vote. And it passes 5-0. Brings us to item 4, public hearings. Let's see how many. Be item A, SR 26115, a final rate setting resolution establishing certain revised water and wastewater rates and charges.
Yes, sir. The staff is requesting board approval of the revised water and wastewater rates and charges. This represents on average a 3% increase in water and wastewater rates and is consistent with the upcoming fiscal year budget. For a typical residential customer, the 3% adjustment translates to approximately an increase of $1 a month for water customers and $1.19 a month for wastewater customers, for a combined fiscal impact of $2.19 a month.
Okay.
Staff's available to answer any questions that the board may have.
Mr. Williams.
And that will be on 6,000 gallons on average.
With that, I'm going to ask Justin to step in.
Okay.
Mr.
Good afternoon. Yes, that average increase, make sure I got my figure right. It is on 6,000 gallons. That's what we've been averaging the last couple of years, 6,000 to 6,100, but I figured that on a 6,000 gallon average. Okay.
Ms. Benson.
Yeah, I just would like a little bit of history, and I think Mr. Perkins is probably the one who has more answers than anyone else. The rates on Pensacola Beach are higher than elsewhere. And back in the day, Pensacola Beach was a seasonal tourist location. It's now a year-round location. Have we ever revisited that? And I'm just curious about the history and why it was instituted in the beginning and what the rationale was. Probably transportation, but.
Well, I mean, a little bit off topic on what we're doing here, but basically, we did review that one time. I was trying to look at getting them equalized, but once you look at it, there's a lot I don't have it by memory, but you'd have to go back and look at the island authority, what they had put in place, and I think it had to do with some bonding requirements, and it's a lot more expensive out there. Now, we don't charge based on that, but we weren't able to adjust them at the time downwards for the beach, and of course, the rest of the districts, weren't real happy about supporting those rich folks out on the beach and having them supported. So that's just some basic history. We'd have to do some research to really
It would
find out.
just-
But I remember we did look at that. Something I brought up years ago, but we did go through.
It would just be interesting to look at that again. I mean, we also have Perdido Key and I'm not really advocating for it. It's just sometimes we just continue things without saying, wait, is it still relevant today? The reason we did it. So maybe during budget workshops
All right.
next year would be a
Well,
time.
one thing I remember is that they were saying, the beach people were saying, hey, we paid the money to move the Main Street plant. We all chipped in on that. That wasn't out at the beach. That was one of the arguments. And then also, if you, I'll just leave it at that, kind of, and focus on the topic.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
And just to kind of add on that, I can do some research prior to budget season next year, but my understanding, this was actually long before my time here at ECUA, but it did have to do with those bond covenants from whenever ECUA took over the service on the island. It will require a little bit of research, not too much, but I do know that we still have some debt outstanding that is related to these old bonds from the late 90s, early 2000s. It's still buried in some of the covenants from now. They're ones that will be paid off in the next 2 or 3 years. But I can certainly look at that and have our bond counsel give me some clarification on those old bonds that were refunded and put into other bonds and things of that nature to see what our options are.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Hold on one second. Ms. Campbell.
No, I'm ready.
Oh, you had your light on. Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna make a motion on the, what's that here? We can make a motion. Yeah.
So.
Go ahead, Mr.
So
Charborough.
we're looking at an overall 3% rate increase for water and sewer. The fiscal impact to a residential customer, be $1 per month for water, and be $1.19 per month for sewer, for wastewater. Combined, it would be $2.19 a month.
Okay, so we have a motion to move
So,
forward, Ms.
well,
Campbell?
yeah, and to preface my motion, I would like to say that we do several budget meetings throughout the summer to talk about the budget and to go over in depth what we are going to do the following year with the budget. The public is invited. We never have anyone show up from the public, but the public is invited to come. And we've had meetings later in the evening and we still didn't have anyone show up. But everything is on the website. The Citizen Advisory Council comes to those meetings, listens to all of that through 6 different meetings. We're still in a state of growth in Escambia County, adding new subdivisions, and even though we have impact fees, still we have, and we're looking at those impact fees, by the way, but we still have to maintain your sewer system and we have to maintain your water system. No one wants to live where there's not good water, and no one wants to live where your sewer does not work properly. So we did do those meetings all summer long. The CAC voted in favor of the 3% hike, as did the board during those meetings. So I'm going to move forward,
Okay.
make a motion that we move forward with the
Sure,
3%.
and just to add to what you said, because I'll get some phone calls and emails after today and so forth. It always boggles my mind, and I mean, not just as a private citizen and overseeing multiple companies that I do outside of my board position. and nobody likes raising rates. No one likes price increases. And of course, I'll answer phone calls and I'll say, please look at the budget. And, and I can't answer vague generalities. Like, give me specifics on our budget where you think we can cut, garbage haulers. Like, you tell me where you want me to cut. And I can speak for the private sector. I mean, my insurance rates have gone up with my health insurance coverage for my employees, my fuel costs, my material costs. I mean, it goes right across the board. And I explain to people and it always amazes me how many people think we're a for-profit company. We know this, but I tell you that because I was out. It's been a minute since I was on the campaign trail, but just knocking on doors, people thinking that we're a for-profit, like an FPL or something. And I explain to them we're not, but our chemicals, and we've all gone through that. Speaking to your point, Ms. Campbell, on going through the budget hearings all throughout the summer, and our chemicals, our carbon, you name it, has gone up. And of course, we buy all this stuff from the private sector, so I have no control over whatsoever. But I'll get the calls. We'll get the calls, and I'm like, explain to me how if you can negotiate. Them not increasing FPL. Let me use FPL for example. I'm not hammering FPL, but we saw what the FPL increased for us. I mean, we are probably one of FPL's largest customers. So as the private community and sector got, and I'm one of them, got our rate increased with FPL, ECUA got ours. Where does that money come from? It's so. And again, I don't want to oversimplify it, but it does get a little frustrating on our end when I'll get some phone calls about. And it's $2, and I personally don't, minimize $2. We got folks on fixed incomes. We got folks that, that matters, and everyone up here, tries to keep these down as low as possible. So I just hope, although no one's going to appreciate that, but to your point, Ms. Campbell, as you know, we spent a lot of time going through the information, listening to staff, and quite honestly, always tell people, and I'll get off my platform here, but the $2.19 that we're raising it, the reality is it should be higher. It should be higher than $2.19, but $2.19 is already going to get enough uproar from our community. But the reality is, as we know, we're putting Band-Aids in many cases on a compound fracture. There's a lot of infrastructure that we need to do, that we're not doing, because the ratepayer again would be less happy with what we need to raise these rates to get the infrastructure improvements that we need, and forget about expansions. So with that, I will. Mr. Williams, did you have something to add?
Just to your point, to the point of the board, we tried to make sure our rates are below the
national average.
And the rate of inflation in the nation. And so, considering whatever the rate of inflation is, we do try to make sure, whether that's a cut in of itself, that our rates stay below what it would cost to buy everything else. So that's it.
Can I add?
Ms. Campbell.
Yeah, we always try to stay below CPI. Since I've been on this board, I think we've tried to stay below CPI. One of the good things, though, is you do have some fees that are on your bill that will be coming up, paid. So be paid off, but in the future, that is going to free up money that we will not have to dig in anyone's pocket for. And that is the most incredible thing coming in the next 5 years to ECUA and to the people it serves. This board and staff do a good job taking care of your system, taking care of your money, and taking care of your reserves, and making sure that everything runs as smoothly as possible. There are other communities that would kill to have your water treatment plant. There are other communities that would kill to have your reserves and be able to look forward to freeing up millions and millions of dollars in the next 5 years to go back into your system. So we've done a great job with that, and makes me proud to be a part of this board. Thank you.
Okay. So no further questions. We had a motion. Ms. Campbell, do we have a second? Ms. Benson, we seconded. Please vote. And it passes 5-0. Okay, moves us to item B, SR 26-116, a final rate setting resolution establishing certain revised sanitation service charges. Mr. Yarborough.
Sir. So staff is requesting board approval of the revised sanitation rates and charges. This represents an average 2% increase in sanitation rates and is consistent with the needs for the upcoming fiscal year 27 budget. For a typical residential sanitation customer, the 2% adjustment translates to approximately 53-cent month increase.
53 cents. Okay, Ms. Campbell.
Motion to accept on the same grounds that we have spent several months going over the budget. And I see Gabe here, and I don't know how he does this, to tell you the truth. I mean, not Gabe, Mr. Brown. I don't know. I'm just not with it today. Mr. Dean, and I am not sure how Mr. Dean does it with this budget of 2%. We have a lot more homes to pick up garbage right now. It's the middle of summer, and my calls have been so minimal. I think they're more minimal today than they ever have been on this board, and I think that has a lot to do with the IT and with the sanitation department being so excellent. I still don't know how you do it. I don't know, and I'm very happy to approve your budget, and thank you for thinking about the people as you keep it low every single year. There are communities, I'm just going to say this, I go to one every summer, where they don't even have trash pickup. You got to take your trash and take it to somewhere and dump it. Go to the mountains. They don't pick up your trash there. You can't put trash out at the road. It's the most incredible thing that he does this with that sanitation department that I've ever seen, and I appreciate him.
This would be a combined total water, wastewater, and sanitation, $2.72. Wow. That's. I see no further discussion. We have a motion from Ms. Campbell, second by Ms. Benson. Please vote. And it passes 5-0. And it moves us to our first open forum. This is great. I have 4 of these, this is great. So we need to have these discussions more often, because I very much like to see community involvement. So usually we get up here, as we know, most times I don't have any pink slips. I'm not sure. Let's see, actually, I can look at the times. Thank you very much for putting the time date stamp. So we have Miss Pepper Weimer. You come to the podium, please, Miss Weimer. Just state your name and am I pronouncing that correctly? Weimer, yes, ma'am. Just state your name and address, please.
Hey y'all, my name is Pepper Weimer, address 8079 Heirloom Drive. And I was gonna say before you start my time, but you got 5 minutes. So before I start my speech, Mr. Stevens, you said something that really interested me. You were talking about infrastructure, and I've been going to city councils and county meetings about data centers. I'm one of the data center people. So we talk about infrastructure a lot, and one of the things that I have been asking the county to do, to consider, would be to require large industries that are coming in to pay for infrastructure upgrades. And I would love to have us talk with you, or maybe it would be Mr. Perkins, because I'm in your district. But if we could maybe talk about that afterwards, that would be great. And I will go ahead with my speech. So I'm here to talk about water. specifically about what happens when we build on top of poison and then trust the water trust that the water will behave. Let's start with Love Canal in Niagara Falls, New York. In the 1940s and 50s, Hooker Chemical buried about 22,000 tons of toxic waste in an old canal. In the 70s, homes and a school were built on top of it. By 1978, basements were filled with black sludge. Kids had birth defects, miscarriages, and cancers. What made it worse is when it rained. When the water table rose, that's when the chemicals migrated. The blizzard of 77 pushed buried drums to the surface. Today, in 2026, it's happening again, right near Love Canal. Families are begging to be relocated because radiation and chemicals are migrating through groundwater into their homes. The EPA is doing cursory testing. The state is being asked to step in. That's why I'm here about Escambia Wood Treatment Superfund site. I think you all know the plan, and we're planning to put a dry port and industrial development on top of the 70 acres that EPA transferred to the county. This is land where we spent millions of dollars to cap dioxin and other highly toxic chemicals. So my questions are about water, because that's what failed at Love Canal. I cannot find the records of what the water quality has been at Escambia Wood. I cannot find them. I've been looking. I've searched. It's been on the ECUA website, or if it's on the EPA website, it's buried so deep no member of the public can find it. So I have questions. Will ECUA be in charge of groundwater and surface water monitoring if the dry port goes in? Where exactly is the monitoring taking place right now? We need well numbers and the locations on a map. How will the public see that data in real time? At Love Canal, the problem wasn't just what was in the ground. It was that the water moved it. How will ECUA monitor migration at Escambia Wood? The site sits on shallow land. It's 6 feet above downtown. We get hurricanes, we get 60 plus inches of rain. If we put trucks on it and disturb the cap, where does the water go? What are the migration patterns? Does it go down to the aquifer or into Carpenter Creek? Bayou Tahar, into our retention ponds? What is the plan to monitor that migration continuously? The issue isn't testings, it's the results. If we have another Love Canal, it won't be because we didn't test. It'll be because we buried the results. If the water data's on the website, show us where, because right now it's not accessible. When I meet with y'all, I'd like to talk about that. Will ECUA commit tonight to creating a public dashboard for Escambia Wood water data? We need to monitor water migration so we can find out what's making our water quality so bad right now. ECUA's job is water. Your job is to protect us from what's in it. So I'm asking you, who will monitor at Escambia Wood? Where are the monitoring wells go? And can you show me today, how will the public access that data without having to file a public records request? Don't tell us it's fine without data to back it up. Thank you.
So Ms. Weimer, if you just hang tight real quick. So, and thank you for that. So let me answer some questions. I was wondering when data centers are going to reach it to ECUA Board, because I've been following it like you all have, the county commission, city council, and so forth. So, and I always explain to people, because a lot of people have a misconception on what ECUA's authority is and is not. And I'm going to say is not, which is approving data centers, zoning, land use, all of that is the county. So, I've had people call me, email me, reach out to me, say, hey, Kevin, have you guys got any information on data centers? I said, look, I can tell you this, not even be secret, like no one has reached out to ECUA. You'd have to have water and power. We have not been reached out. We have not been solicited to about data centers. So all this, and again, I understand everybody's concern because I share it myself. I don't want to, be heading out to my house and see a sea full of data centers, nor do I want to see a bunch of solar farms out there. But nonetheless, We have not been approached by that. If there was interest in data centers, they need water, as you all know, to do that. That's one of the main things. And again, so I would like to set your mind at ease.
Well, I
To my
didn't.
knowledge, no one's reached out to us even preliminarily to say we're looking at building anything like that in our area. So I want to say that first, and then second thing is, I'm not aware of any. You wouldn't need any public. You can certainly have the freedom to make any public records requests you want, but I would be disappointed that if you asked our staff with about any information that we have readily available, we'd provide it to you. So I mean, we're very obviously we have nothing to hide here. We're very open and honest. So anything that you would need within our privy that that wasn't deemed confidential, I don't see that being confidential. Water quality reports we'd certainly provide for you. I'm kind of run through some of your points right now. Well numbers and locations, I believe those are on the map right now. All of our wells. Mr. Yarbrough could maybe confirm or deny that, but I'm pretty sure our wells are public information where those are located.
Yeah,
our
I think
wells.
I think they're on a map somewhere. There may be some Homeland Security stuff, but at the end of the day, I mean, they stick out like a sore thumb. You can't really hide them.
Yeah.
I think there's a map online somewhere.
And I'll confirm that.
Yeah.
I'll confirm that for you, but I've got Mr. Palmer shaking his head. No. Okay, we don't have a map on this.
We've been cautioned by Homeland Security not to provide that information.
Which would make sense. Okay. So I stand corrected. We don't have that public information on the web because of security concerns, which, as you can imagine, obviously.
So it's a public security concern, but can the data at least be shared with the public? Because I think that I'm not the only one that's concerned about
Data as far as water quality?
About the water monitoring quality, yes.
Okay, so 1 second. Mr. Perkins.
We do like 450,000 water quality mounting tests a year. We have tons and tons of information and locations. I'd ask that staff get someone with expertise, maybe Mr. Palmer or somebody to meet with you or your organization and get all that information you can to you, because much of it's really kind of easily available. You just need to compile it for you or help you know where to find it.
Okay, yeah. And I just wanted to address the data center comment. I did not think that you guys would have been approached by it, but I just brought up the issue because I think that it would be very beneficial for Escambia County to require prepayment. We need the infrastructure upgrades. You guys are talking about budgets, and we're even talking about local option sales tax and property taxes going away. So if that's the case, let's make them pay for it. I would help everybody. So I just wanted to bring that up.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Ms. Weimer. And again, we'll have our staff, Mr. Palmer in particular, getting with you. I'm sure you can gather up majority, if not all, that information
Okay.
you're requesting. Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
I'm sorry, Ms. Benson.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you for your comments. I think it's relevant to ask for the data. It's mostly from FDEP and EPA.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
there's no reason why we can't link that onto our website so that you would have a central place. And I would ask that staff pursue doing that. It's a legitimate question, and we're heavily regulated, but let's make it transparent. So thank you.
Yeah,
for
thank
bringing
you.
that to us.
I will follow up with you on that. Thank you, Ms. Benson.
Ms. Weimer, hold on. We got.
Oh, hey, I'm
Ms.
sorry.
Campbell.
I'm not used to people talking to me.
I thank you. I appreciate you coming, and I really appreciate your concern for the citizens. We don't have enough people that are concerned for the citizens, and I always say I get the most phone calls about sanitation. My garbage didn't get picked up. But the only thing that keeps me awake at night is your water quality. So thank you for caring.
Thank you, ma'am.
We don't get a lot of visitors, Ms. Weimer, so we're excited. We're extending. That's why I extended your time.
Thank you, guys. I really appreciate y'all answering my questions. I wish that they were like this at the county and the city.
Yeah, that's right. Thank you, Ms. Weimer. Dr. Horning.
Oh, no.
Welcome back, Dr.
Fecal
Horning.
matters. Dr. Gloria Horning, 310 South of Villers. The only reason I asked for clarification, Mrs. Campbell, is because I didn't hear it. Not that I was going against it or for it. I just didn't hear the percentage of the, and yeah, if you had a night meeting, I sure did miss it for sure. But that's not why I came to talk to you today. I went out to Brownsville. I've been out to Brownsville for the last couple of weeks looking at your sewage to septic tank construction out there. I won't mention the company, but it is a fiasco. They're leaving their front loaders, their cranes in front of people's homes. There are no sidewalks now, so the children, the elementary school children, walk in that dust to school. There is no water abatement. There's so many regulations being just ignored out there. And the people have come talk to those people, and this is what they get from one of the supervisors from the company that's doing it. Why don't you just move? This is your district, Miss Benson. And I know you haven't been here, but nobody's been out there to see what those people are going through. I've got pictures, I've got videos, and I would have brought them, but y'all like to look at our stuff before we bring them so you can figure out what you're gonna say, which is actually stopping my free speech. I've warned Beach Haven, this is what's coming their way, destruction and more destruction. Pepper beat me on the water monitoring. One of my case studies in my dissertation was Mount Dioxin. We couldn't find any water quality reports, and all the water monitors out there had a rusted lock on them. I have all this video. I can share it with you. I didn't live here then. I lived in Tallahassee. I was working on my dissertation. So if there's water monitoring, Margaret Williams, who is the president of Citizens Against Toxic Exposure, never got them. Because when the EPA came here, she had nothing to share with them. And yes, I have that on video as well. So keep hiding your stuff, keep hiding your stuff. The first thing I was going to say, I didn't know this was going to come up, but I opened my bill yesterday and it was $2 more. And now it's going to be even more. And what do I get for it? I get sewage overflows every time it rains. We've got about 1,000 toilets going in on Old Stinky. How are you going to manage that? And I can also tell you the algae blooms at Bruce Beach and at Maritime Park. I'm sure one of y'all follow me. I showed pictures of it yesterday. The day docks covered in algae. Where's that water monitoring going? And I know where you could cut some money. Y'all say this, you guys get paid a full-time wage. A full-time wage. And a lot of our disenfranchised communities don't use internet. But you sure could, you do have their phones. You could call them and tell them when a meeting is. Or you could post it. What an idea. Instead of telling it's the public's responsibility to find out when we're meeting. It's the public's responsibility to get here at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Y'all can work at night. It's your responsibility as the representatives to be responsible for the citizens and the water and the sewage that's coming up all the time. It's your responsibility, and you failed miserably.
Thank you, Dr. Ms. Campbell. Okay. Mr. Williams.
Yeah. I appreciate people coming up to the podium to speak. And I'll take a look at Brownsville. I'll take a look at Brownsville. But I don't necessarily.
Part of it is your district
I
and
know,
part of it's
I know
Ms.
that.
Benson.
I know that. That's why I said I will take a look at it. Because if there's a problem out there, I will address it.
Good.
I will address it.
Point
About
of
3 weeks
order.
late,
And
but
so,
okay.
and so my point would be about the water in particular. I think we run a good operation where I don't know where we hide any reports on water from nobody.
I'm talking about,
Excuse me, but I think that your comments have to go through the chair, ma'am. I'm sorry. We need to keep order.
And I'm generally making these comments,
Okay.
not directing them to you, but to our previous speaker and to our listening audience. So,
Thank you.
You know, I'm not trying to engage directly.
Thank you.
But the monitoring, if someone comes to the board with a thought of something's not being monitored, then that's good information to bring to the board. Because now we have an opportunity to ask those questions directly to staff and to get information as to whether it's monitored or not. Because we know a lot of our water is monitored. So that would be what I would say to monitoring. And then the mitigation of the water flow. That's a good question, as it was asked earlier. So I will direct that conversation back to staff to see if we do know how the water will travel once it leaves, and where it goes from where it's dumped at. But I don't want anybody to think we have an annual report that we give out on water quality that states the quality of the water from the many places throughout the county in which it is tested. And if there are any questions on that, then that report I know is available on the website. And and I'm just going to make one comment to you because I appreciate you coming here, and when somebody comes here with a pain of not getting something done over time, that kind of pains me, and so I just feel that what you're talking about with the feces, we'll look at it, and we've been looking at it. And I don't know what that issue is, but I don't blow it off, okay? That's
Thank
my
you,
point.
sir.
I don't blow it off. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
And,
Thank-
and Mr. Stevens, what I
Dr.
was referring to the water monitoring, I know the drinking water is being monitored. I'm asking about the water that's on Mount Dioxin. It's supposed to be being monitored. It's not drinking water.
Kevin.
It's water coming up from the ground.
Okay, hold that thought, Dr. Squire.
Okay.
Ms. Campbell.
So, once again, ECUA is in charge of drinking water and sewer water. We have zero to do with stormwater. This is stormwater that you're talking about. That would be the city and the county. We do not touch stormwater. It is nothing of ours. If it comes in, goes in here, or comes out here, it belongs to us. If it runs through your streets, it belongs to the county and the city. Just so you understand.
If I may.
And then one last thing I'll say,
Yes, Ms. Gill.
is on the septic to sewer. I know a lot of people are maybe unhappy about septic to sewer, but one of the things that makes your waterways, and if you think about it, there is one reason people come to Florida, one and one only. They come here to enjoy the beaches, the bays, the rivers, and all of the waterways. Otherwise, we're just another state like everybody else, but we got the prettiest beaches in the world, and that's why they come here, okay? So every time a septic tank leaks into that waterway, it pollutes the waterway. When you hear about Invibrio, you're hearing about septic tanks leaking into the waterways and dogs pooing into the waterway, fertilizer going through people's yard. So those are a lot of the things that make that worse. So septic to sewer, we push very hard for that to be closest to the waterways. The one reason that Brownsville was chosen is it's a B map, and that's what EPA wanted ECUA to do. We don't choose the areas. If I was to choose the area, I would choose Perdido Bay. That's me. I'm sure Miss Benson would probably choose the Bay Area because that's where she is. I'm sure Mr. Perkins would choose the beach, you know, to make water quality. But sometimes we don't get to choose. And when they give us grant money, we like to take it because that's not coming out of your pocket. So,
Okay.
The water that's being allegedly tested at Mount Dioxin clearly shows ECUA water well on it. I can show you those pictures too. But to the septic tanks, this is a huge disenfranchised community and they'll never have $6,000 to patch in. But I appreciate Mr. Williams going out there to see what's going on, what this community is facing. It's horrifying. It's truly horrifying. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Horning. So our next speaker, Christian Wagley. Mr. Wagley, just state your name and address, please.
Yeah, Christian Wagley, 801 East LaRue Street in Pensacola. So back in 1984, one of the worst human disasters in world history occurred in India when a cloud of cyanide gas settled over the town of Bhopal, killed thousands of people immediately and many thousands more in the subsequent days, weeks, months, and years. About a year later, here in the United States, in West Virginia, there was an incident from a chemical plant in West Virginia that sickened and hospitalized a number of people. And Congress reacted to that, as they should, as elected officials should do when there's a perceived threat, in this case real. And they passed in 1986 the Emergency Planning and Community Right to Know Act. And what that did was made the chemical industry be more transparent about the products that were being stored and manufactured and discharged to air, water, and land in communities all over the country. And one of the things that came out of that was something called the Toxics Release Inventory. It's TRI for short. And this started showing up in the news here around Pensacola by the late 80s or early 90s. This would be a ranking of all of the discharges to air, water, or land from various facilities all over the country. And we started seeing articles in the News Journal about how Escambia County was around number 10 in the entire nation in the quantity of toxic discharges. And it was all because of one single facility. And that's the Ascend Nylon plant in Cantonment. In those days, it would have been known as Solutia. And that facility has been the subject of a lot of confusion within the public over the years. 4 years ago, I came before this body after our organization. I work for Healthy Gulf. We're a nonprofit based in New Orleans, but I live here and work mostly in the panhandle of Florida, and we work across the Gulf from Florida to Texas on a variety of water and climate and energy and endangered species issues. But we requested a public hearing on the renewal of the Ascend permit 4 years ago. It's taken this long now to get to the point where that permit is actually going to, it's been issued in draft form now, and a public hearing is coming in early October, and it's a great opportunity for ECUA, both board members and staff, to be engaged around this and to show the public, your constituents, that you are engaged on this matter, because there's a lot of confusion about what's in that discharge, where does it go, and how do we keep drinking water safe. Now, what it's relying on is what's called deep well injection. These are underground injection and control permits that's being renewed through the Florida Department of Environmental Protection. And the idea is that the discharge goes far below the level at which ECUA is drawing drinking water, and there's an aquiclude or a confining layer there that separates those and prevents contamination. It relies on the integrity of the wells, that those don't ever fail. Despite that, there's still a lot of questions about this. And so I do have a letter that I want to give to the board and to the executive director. I just brought a copy for each of you. This is the letter we wrote 4 years ago requesting the public hearing that DEP is granting. And it gives you some good background on the issues. So I can hand that off to somebody or carry that forward. But that hearing is going to come up probably in October. And again, it's a great chance for ECUA to be involved in this, to show your interest in this. One other kind of factor in all this is back in 2009, ECUA sued a number of parties, 3M, DuPont, and the forerunner to Ascend there, which would have been Solutia, because of contamination of ECUA's drinking water wells and the cost incurred by the authority in cleaning up those wells. That suit was not successful at the time because there was no standard on PFAS and PFAS. These are the perfluorinated chemicals that are ubiquitous now, and you all are dealing with it, as are almost every water utility in the nation. So that's another thing that I think confuses the public about this issue is that the ECUA was involved in litigation around this back in 2009. So the letter I have here outlines some of those issues, and I will continue to be a source to you all on this matter, and happy to answer questions about it, and I will certainly let you know when that hearing is scheduled, because that date hasn't been set yet, but it looks like early to mid-October. And I do want to say, just as I wrap up, I want to thank the professionalism of the staff here, because over the years, especially around wastewater issues and sanitary sewer overflows, I've had a number of questions for staff, and I think of people like Don Palmer, Randy Sears, Stacy Hayden, are people that have always been immediately responsive to me and answered my questions, very professionally and respectfully, and I very much appreciate that. And I want to thank Ms. Benson, because when I recently called her, she answered on the first ring. So that's, great to be able to be responsive to the public. So again, I want to hand off these letters to you all, and if you have a question or comment, I'm happy to take it.
Mr. Wiley, I appreciate that, because we like the positive, you know what I'm saying? I'm trying to mix you guys up as the speakers, so we'll get we have some positive, but thank you for acknowledging our staff, because we try to go above and beyond answering those questions, and like we've had some previous comments before, we want to make our information readily available, and it's refreshing to know what I already know is that our staff is super responsive. So thank you for that, Ms. Campbell.
Mr. Wagley, thank you very much for coming. I appreciate it. I follow you a lot on social media because I really appreciate the care that you give for the community when it comes to water quality. And I'm sure that Mr. Palmer will be happy to answer any questions you have. I did want to clear up one thing. We were chosen actually as a bellwether for the case against 3M, and we won. We are now collecting over $80 million. We've already collected quite a bit, and I'll let Mr. Yarborough
28 million to date.
20 million to date.
28 million.
Huh?
28 million to date.
28 million. We're also putting that in an interest-bearing account, and all of that money is being spent for the granular active carbon filters that clear out the PFAS and the PFOA.
So that's a different suit, but the
okay.
one in 2009 was not successful for
Okay.
ECUA.
But,
Yeah.
but we did get money, and we are working on that, and I really appreciate you inviting us to the meeting. I will make sure I attend as well. I'm not a fan of deep well injection. I know that there might be other ways to do it, but I'm like you. I'm not a fan of you put anything down in there, but I don't know what else to do. So I would love to hear more about that. So thank you very much for inviting us, and know that we take water quality very serious, and we appreciate you coming this way.
Shall I hand these off to you?
You could give them to Amanda right there, and she'll make sure we all get one.
Thank you, Mr. Wagley.
I think Mr. Perkins has.
Ms. Perkins, you have a question?
Oh, okay.
Last but certainly not least, Mr. Larry Downs Jr.
Larry Downs Jr. Plumbing LLC, because fecal matters. All right, let's get into it. All right, I want to know how everybody's been doing since we removed the hexafluorosilic fluoride poison from the water. Everybody still got their teeth? Amazing. No, the sky didn't fall? I think that was from the COVID shots, buddy. I'm sorry about that. I really am. I feel bad. I've had many family members go down on account of those COVID shots. But anyways, let's move on to something just a little bit more positive. One is, hold it. I got a list here. Hold on. Oh, the good news is we now have a little bit more choices in what poisons are given to our children, from corporate chemical vaccine injections. A lot of people do this. They connect the cancer to water quality, to foods, preservatives and chemicals in the foods, different types of carcinogenics that may be in materials, all this type of stuff. And I know y'all are concerned about the water, right? I mean, that's kind of your job. I am too. However, there's a big difference between injecting and ingesting. huge difference. So whenever you go to the doctor and you get this here, you get one of these and they go, oh, I gotta give you one. Y'all see that? There's a big difference between chemicals and animal parts going in your body, injecting. It's kind of like a a cobra venom. You can drink it and you'll be just fine. But you put a little bit of that on a needle and stick it in here. Mm-mm. And the reason why I say that is I'm a fourth generation plumber. My sons are the fifth. We have probably dealt with the most fecal matter of any family in this country. I mean, we've had our hands in it and our faces our whole lives. So fecal's not the enemy. Fecal's not the enemy. It matters. And the same way with with water. Water's not our enemy. Even water think about this. For thousands of years, what did our ancestors drink? Whatever they could get out of a ditch. And here we are today, we're attributing all of these health problems that we have. We want to contribute them to everything except for the corporate chemical vaccine injections. So I'm trying to take a little off of y'all. I'm trying to take a little off of you. It's not the water. No, it's just our stomach is filled with acid. It's not that. Our system's designed to take in a lot of garbage. It's just not designed to get injected. It's kind of like you can swim in a cesspool and you're fine. But when you do it with a cut, just cut your skin open, then you open yourself up for those toxins, right? It's the same way. So what I'm suggesting that y'all do in the future is probably try to save a little bit more of our money, our resources, so that we can move forward with a more efficient, operation here. And I generally like this operation as far as governments go. Y'all are probably the least intrusive, the least costly. That's good news. That's real good news. But I love Mr. Perkins. I love all y'all actually, Mrs. Benson. I wish y'all hadn't have taken the COVID shots. I just wish you wouldn't have. This is the spike backs. And I know you're not going to want to blame that, but that's what it is. That's what did it. And we can go right here to 13.1, the Spikevax Moderna. Spikevax has not been evaluated for carcinogenic, mutagenic potential, or impairment of male fertility in animals. A developmental toxicity study was conducted in female rats and that received a vaccine formulation containing nucleoside, modified messenger ribonucleic acid, mRNA, and other ingredients. Meaning they still are not being transparent. Intentionally blank. This is what you had for the first 3 years. Then they give you this. So you take it to save you from the boogeyman. Then all of a sudden you have all of these problems, and I'm telling y'all, I feel bad for you. I think y'all should be fighting. I'm going to be tonight, 6 o'clock on Blab, on the Barossett Law Show, discussing that criminal Anthony Fauci and all that entails.
Thank you, Larry.
Keep up the good fecal matter work. And just say no to drugs, especially pharmaceuticals.
All right, and again, I want to thank all the speakers for taking the time, out of your day and addressing your board. This is what this is all about.
Mr. Downs, are you sticking around or are you leaving? Sticking around? Okay, good.
All right. So, item 6, presentations. Recycle Star. Give Mr. Williams a break. Ms. Campbell, if you'd be so kind. number 12. All right, number 12 is John Evans. I'm thankful for Mr. Evans and having an easy first name to pronounce. Thank you, Mr. Evans. And again, we want to thank our other individuals as well, including Robert and Lisa Benson, Evan Langdon, Randall and Hillary Wickersham, Alexander and Jacqueline Ebe, Alfredo Ruiz and Elizabeth Neves, Tim and Angela Thornhill, Kristen Holloway, Sarah and Addison Fisher, Bruce and Laura Wenger, Ed and Mary Zoransky, and Ernest Schmiegelzing. So again, we want to thank all these individuals. And again, let me just, I had the opportunity to meet with Mayor DC Reeves along with our new director, Jason Yarbrough, and it was a great, very productive meeting. And they were bragging on their superior recycling ability in the city and their contamination rate. And I believe it's like single digits. I believe it's literally single digits. So, and of course, he's like, you say that publicly? I'm like, listen, buddy, just hit record on your phone. I mean, we need to do a little bit better on the county side. I'll be happy to say that. We need to step it up a little bit on the county on our contamination rates. But again, clearly these 12 individuals here are going above and beyond, and we need more than just 12 people because I hate it when the city is beating us. So all my county family and friends, let's step it up and see if we can't increase those, or I should say decrease those decontamination numbers. Moving on. We've got item B, ECUA backflow presentation.
Mr. Chairman, with your permission, I'll step down and
Please
address
do.
the board from the podium. How about that? There we go.
Much better.
Good evening, everyone. Mr. Chairman, I'm here to talk to the board a little bit about backflow preventers. This is actually going to be a two-part presentation. I'm going to talk a little bit about the law, the regulatory structure, and where we're at currently under the existing consent order. And then I'm going to pass it off to Mr. Palmer, who is going to talk to you a little bit about options from a more operational standpoint. Let's see here. Wrong presentation. I did, yes, ma'am. Let me let them get the right one up there. Yes, ma'am, I've actually passed out a copy of the consent orders attached to the resolution from January, and I'll reference that at some point as well. Do what now?
One we just had on? What do you want, the first one we just had?
It was.
Put that in.
Everyone bear with us if you would. We're having a technical issue. Well,
Tell you one thing, man, Mama's got some good coffee.
how did it combine with the other? Or was that the same first page? Maybe they used the same.
It's the same
cover page.
first, because I just took Gabby, because Gabby made the other one. Did it. But
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Oh, goodness. Mr. Chairman, looks like we're back in business. With your permission. Okay, so what I was wanting to do was get into, oh, come on, guys. All right, I'm just going to do this from my notes, if that's okay with everybody, so we don't hold everybody up any longer. So the authority that, there you go. Right there. Thank you, sir. So the initial legislative authority that leads to the rule that we're here talking about as it relates to backflow preventers, thank you, ma'am. It stems out of this chapter 403 of the Florida Statutes, environmental control. We've identified four, particular relevant provisions of that here. Notice the department, who's the third one down. What this does is it assigns the enforcement of this statute to the Florida Department of Environmental Protection. And then they do that enforcement by passing regulations that are found in the Florida Administrative Code. What I've put up here on the board now is the Administrative Code 62555360 on cross connection. Cross connections are prohibited unless appropriate backflow protection is provided to prevent backflow through the cross connection into the public water system. Subpart A of that section 1 says that appropriate backflow protection for various applications is described in this table. Keep that in mind because I'm going to come back around to that table here in a second. The regulation puts some obligations on each community water system like the ECUA. Notice here the language says they shall establish and implement a control program using appropriate backflow protection in order to protect from contamination caused by cross connections. And then notice the obligatory language in section 3, upon discovery of a prohibited or inappropriately protected cross connection, the public water system shall ensure that it's eliminated or shall ensure that proper backflow protection is installed or shall discontinue service. Now, the next one I want to show you is that table. This is obviously is a subpart of the table. What we're looking at is the category of customer. On the left, premises where there is an auxiliary or reclaimed water system. And what I want you to notice, well, if you come over to the right, you'll see there's 3 different types depending on the circumstances. There's a double check valve, a reduced pressure assembly, a dual check valve. And then look at the subpart 7, as this is very important. It says a dual check valve, which by the way is the cheapest and simplest of those options, may be provided only if there is no known cross connection between the plumbing system and the auxiliary or reclaimed water system on the customer's premises. I point that out to point out that this concern that we have that, that a common sense reading that says there's an auxiliary well and, it's not connected, the customer is telling us it's not connected. That was contemplated in the administrative code, and in that case, what the DEP has done is they've decided you can use this less complex, cheaper alternative, but you must have backflow protection. If a failure to comply with that, penalties can be pretty severe. The department has the ability to bring a lawsuit against the ECUA, to bring a civil action in court, to fine as much as $15,000 per offense. Failure to comply can actually be a criminal violation and carry fines and jail time. Options, a couple of options. Well, actually, first, this is a good place to transition over to what I passed out. I want to show you the consent order that the ECUA is currently under. What you're looking at is a copy of the resolution from January where the executive director was authorized to sign the consent order. So flip back behind there, and there's a few things that I've highlighted. This document is entitled consent agreement, but then you see it's titled below that, referred to as the order, and throughout it is very much a DEP order. On page 3 of 10, you'll find ECUA's obligations. No later than December 31st of 2030, ECUA, respondent as ECUA, shall ensure that all residential service connections with auxiliary water supplies identified in our 24 annual report meet the requirements of table, and this is that table I showed you a moment ago. And below that, what you're going to find is a timeline. And so you'll see that each quarter, an additional 210 homes have to be, or properties have to be brought into compliance. And then, leading all the way up to 4,832 by the fourth quarter of 2030. The next section here is important. We have to submit progress reports beginning the first full quarter after issuance of this order and every quarterly and quarterly thereafter. And look down where it says methods of compliance. These are the options that we have. We can obtain documentation of the prior installation of a BPA with a passing BPA test, or B, provide documentation of installation of the required backflow prevention device. 3, documentation that the auxiliary well is inoperable. If you actually have an inoperable well, you can have a plumber certify that. We can rely on that. We can't rely on the certification that they're not connected. And then D is really your final option, and it's terminating water services. And then at the beginning of paragraph 9, the reason this is particularly relevant, I know I showed you some of the penalties and how they work. This shows you what has been already ordered by the DEP in regard to the ECUA, that the stipulated penalties are $500 per day for every day that the ECUA fails to comply with the requirements of paragraph 6. Flip over to section 18, and there's a notation that respondent, again, ECUA, is aware that violation of the order may subject ECUA to damages and civil penalties up to $15,000 per day. So that's sort of the regulatory structure that we're under and the legal obligations we have currently. Now, options from a legal standpoint, obviously we could remain compliant. There are two things that can be done. You can request a waiver or a variance from the agency. To do that, you're going to need to show them that the requirements of the rule are being met in some other way, and there's some sort of substantial hardship in order to do it the way they want it done, if that makes any sense. We've reviewed that. We've seen where one individual has asked for a variance back in 14, 15, something like that, 10 or so years ago. We're still researching. It does not appear to have been granted. I question whether it would even be considered, considering that the text of the rule already says that they've considered the lack of connection issue. The second option, or I guess third in this case, is to challenge the rule. Legally speaking, we could challenge this DEP rule and assert that it was an invalid exercise of the delegated legislative authority of the DEP. I can tell you that challenge was brought by another affected person in 2014, and the court ruled that the rule was a valid exercise of authority. Our arguments would be different, but I share that with you. If the board would like me to comment on the likelihood of success of such a challenge, I would suggest I should do that at a shade meeting, at a following meeting, as opposed to an open session, because that would be legal advice regarding an upcoming potential lawsuit. Questions for me?
So, and again, I've already beat the dead horse and drug it behind the truck when it comes to the absurdity of and not just this consent order, but again, back to private wells not connected to our system requiring a backflow preventer, which is $450 to $600, estimated here, but that's not even counting the annual inspection, right? Is it annual certifications?
Biannual, I believe.
Biannual?
No, annual.
Annual.
It's
I think
annual.
it was annually, right?
Yeah, they're annual.
Okay.
Commercial is
I'm
annual.
seeing- Yeah, I'm seeing, yes, okay.
Mine's annual
Yeah, mine is too. My
on
various
my
business.
house and my business.
Okay, dual checks don't have to be tested. They're good for up to 10 years.
No, but what? Yeah. Okay. Yeah,
Okay.
but I thought you were talking about back.
So we're not just talking about the one time. Yeah. So you have the initial upfront cost and then inspections depending on what type of system you have in. So and again, they'll phrase "don't fight City Hall." I mean, us trying to fight this. I think the best, in my opinion, way to go about this would be to petition our state legislators and say, look, apparently they painted with a very large brush right across the board. But as I read this legislation and as you explain it to us, Mr. Pugh, it clearly they did address connected and non-connected. So somebody in that meeting, obviously brought up the fact, private wells, and still they added that to this to this mandate. So it's beyond me.
Right. Right.
Huge overreach, very burdensome, unnecessarily burdensome for those individuals on the private well system.
Yes, sir. That if you notice that footnote there, so it takes us through. If you come over to the right, a premise is where there's an auxiliary system. Then come over to the right, you can have a dual check valve under the provisions of this Note 7, or if it's non-residential, then you have to have a double check valve, or let's see, if it's a low hazard, you can use an RP valve. Those two are the more expensive ones, but when you come down, the DUC, that dual check valve, can be provided there. But if you drop down, it's interesting. So it starts out saying that you can use that only if there's no known cross connection. Then you come down a couple of sentences, and it says that we shall ensure, if it's found that there is actually a connection, then we have to ensure that it's eliminated or make them go to one of those higher level backflow preventers. So they did, yes, sir, they did contemplate it.
Yes, it's either pay for the backflow preventer or disconnect your irrigation system from your private well.
That's right.
Gotcha, okay.
Well, yeah,
Miss-
but
Miss Campbell.
we're asking for backflow preventers. They can do a dual check valve, right?
These are three different types of backflow preventers. So you've
It's a
got
backflow preventer, it's just different types.
But it's a less expensive one, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that what we are asking for? Because that's,
It is. Yes, ma'am.
we're asking for the dual
Mhm.
check valve, about $85. That is not the letter that the people are complaining about to me. What they're talking about is costing them like $1,000 to get put on. So that's where that's where I'm having issues, where I'm getting phone calls saying, I called a plumber and this is what this is gonna cost to get put on.
Right. Let me defer to Mr. Palmer, who's going to follow me on this as far as the logistics and cost of the individual options. That's outside of my purview. Let's see if there was something else I wanted to show you here. Covered waivers, covered challenges.
Ms. Benson?
When we provide these letters, we say that we will do it for a certain amount of money or we have a list. And so I don't know where they're getting this huge cost because I have on 3 different properties and I think it was about $85. Now, kicking and screaming, mind you, I've been kicking and screaming about this all the way and I finally cried uncle and have done it, but I
It
don't.
might be $85 for the valve, but who knows how to put it on? That's the thing.
No, that's an installed price.
Installed?
Yeah, that's what I paid last time, yeah.
That's not what I'm getting
Yeah.
told by the people that
All
are
right.
calling me.
We'll let Mr. Palmer address that. Any questions from me from the legal side?
I do.
Ms. Benson, do you want
Yeah,
to finish
well,
up?
So, based on our conversation, I mean, gosh, we've been dealing, I actually, Mr. Perkins and I have been dealing with this before the others were even on this board. This is one of our long feuds. Where was I going with this? But anyway, you and I have had conversations about it, trying to come up with some resolution, as every single member of this board has tried to come up with solutions. But you said that we have a consent order that is based on this approval of doing this, which we did back in about May, which complicates our ability to suddenly renege or go to the legislature or do other things. Can you address that issue?
Yes, ma'am. The consent order is already in place, executed by ECUA, executed by DEP, approved by the board. I would agree that we can't go back on that consent order. That's an obligation. Now, I think that a challenge to the enforceability of the underlying rule would be a separate issue. Certainly, you could go to your elected representatives, in the legislature and press for things to be changed. But unless and until something is changed, or until we finish this schedule through the year 2030, ECUA is bound by this order. Does that address?
Yes, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Perkins?
Well, the one I was really focused about and upset about is where they're not connected at all, and they have to, still get a backflow preventer where there's no impact. To me, that seems illogical, and so I don't know how we get that in front of a judge or anything, with everything that's gone on. But how to avoid penalties, remain compliant, which we're probably getting near to the end of them, the very last few. Request a waiver or variance from the agency. Have we done that?
No, sir, we have not. Let me go back here on this slide to the waiver section. This shows you right here. That's that language I was trying to recall a second ago.
Yeah.
Variances and waivers are granted when the person subject to the rule, in this case the ECUA, demonstrates that the purpose of the underlying statute will be or has been achieved by other means by the person, and when application of a rule would create a substantial hardship or violate principles of fairness. So that's your basis for a request for a waiver or a variance.
And I would think that I would think that this would be our most likely and least risky form of trying to do something about it. I mean, it is a, you know, it's just, it would violate the principles of fairness, and create a hardship on these people. I mean, they're not connected to the water system. So, I mean, to me, it seems like you would have some argument there. And if they turn us down, they turn us down. We're not spending, you know, millions on legal fees. And if they accept it, you know, we hit one out of the park. To me, I mean, if we're going to do anything, it seems like that would be the way to go. But I don't know. It's maybe something we need to talk about privately, or we could discuss here. But that would be, I wouldn't say a friendly approach toward them, but it would be a less threatening and aggressive approach toward them. I think if you go the next level, you know, challenging the rule, which it looks like there's limited chance of success in my opinion, that that wouldn't be helpful. You know, the easiest way really would be to get a legislative change from our legislatures, but we're a real small part of the state, and we, you know, it's like getting something through Congress, and I just don't see that happening just because, you know, one board in upper Northwest Florida doesn't like it. So I'm open to whatever anybody else has to say, but if we're going to do anything, and I'd ask your advice on it, to me it would seem, you know, that requesting a waiver would not be seen as a threatening thing, but something they might listen to.
No, I would agree. I think that if you're going to engage in any way with the DEP directly, I would go through requesting a waiver. I mean, that's just simply a request, and if it's denied, it's denied. So we can certainly do that. I'm not optimistic just because of the history that we see. I don't see waivers being approved in relation to this rule. But you know, if the board directs me to request one, we certainly will.
So so to follow up that, is that something we can, because I'm all in favor of requesting, I mean, we got nothing to lose, requesting a waiver. So even though after listening to you, Mr. Pugh, and you reading the outline, it's clear to me that this was already brought up when they passed the legislation. It talked about connected and non-connected. So, but other than the fact that maybe we're not the only one, maybe there's multiple municipalities, water municipalities and counties who are requesting waivers, and maybe strength in numbers. I don't know. I'm reaching here, but
I'm sorry, Ms. Benson, go ahead.
Go ahead, Ms. Benson. You had something to add?
Well, were you going to go ahead with Mr. Palmer's presentation, or?
We are. I was gonna, one last comment from me. I just wanted to say before any action as it relates to the DEP, whether it's asking for a variance, asking for a waiver, asking for, you know, or challenging the rule, I would like to call a shade meeting and talk with you a little bit. I think that concerns me about other piece of litigation that we have going on, and I'd like to talk to you about that.
Okay.
So I would just encourage you to wait until we can do that if the board decides to take any action. If there's no other questions from me, I'll turn this over to Mr. Palmer.
Did you have a question, Mr. Pugh? So hang tight, Mr.
Yes,
Pugh.
sir.
Mr. Williams.
Yes, sir. The quick question would be, during the process of requesting a waiver, what would be the status of legality concerning the backflow installation?
We would remain subject to the consent order, so it really, unless and until it was approved, it wouldn't change anything. It's my understanding that we are ahead of schedule, and I'm sure Mr. Palmer can comment more on that. So we've got a little bit of room to work, but we remain subject to that consent order.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so I just, one more question. So a house with no cross connection can do an $85 valve.
I think Mr. Palmer's going to clarify that.
Okay, because when I talked with Mr. Yarborough about it, he was like, well, we could put it on the bill, $4 a month, you know, and I'm thinking, how long would it take to pay that off? I mean, $4 a month for $85 a year, they'd be done.
Right. So if we don't have any, if we have any more questions, Mr. Pugh, we'll ask Mr. Palmer to come to the podium. Thank you, Mr. Pugh.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Palmer, you're up. enlighten us, sir, on the difference between the $400 to $600
Yeah.
check valve and the $85.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, appreciate it. There seems to be a lot of misunderstandings of the program or what we're doing, how the program works, and so I'm going to work our way through the existing program and then some options at the end of other things we can do. I'm going to start off by kind of cutting to the chase. If you look at this picture right here, these are the main two options for somebody with an auxiliary well. The one on the left is an RPZ, reduced pressure zone backflow assembly, that has to be installed above grade. That could be
That's what I have, and I
$1,000.
have in my office, yeah.
That could be very expensive. You're required to do that if your house is connected to your well. That is what's required, is an RPZ. Generally, there you'll see them insulated. You won't see them that clearly. If it's not connected, there is an option in the rules that allows you to install a dual check backflow device. That's a device, there's an example of a device I just found on the web. It's a device, it's one piece, and it has to be cut into the plumbing, and it can be installed, it can be direct buried. And I'll get into that in just a minute. So I feel like it's important to understand where all this came from, where all this got started. Goes back to the Safe Drinking Water Act in 1974. Congress acted, directed EPA to develop regulations to protect against contamination or cross connections. Started 52 years ago. Congress gave EPA that mandate. It took a while, but the state came up with some rules and regulations in 1987. That's when the state's program started to create cross connection control programs. I don't really know what those regulations were, but that's when it all started. 1996, amendments were required to the Safe Drinking Water Act happened, and that required states to conduct assessments and provide inventories of potential threats. Cross-connection and backflow hazards are explicitly called out in the 1996 Safe Drinking Water Act. Okay, in 2003, FDEP came up with a major update to their rule, which required mandatory installation of all properties with irrigation systems and regular testing. And that's really when ECUA's program, I think, started off. Utilities required to submit annual reports on compliance to their customers, and that we really, I think, started mainly with commercial customers and the main ones, but also residential. This is the big one. In 2014, FDEP came up with another update. And this update allowed the installation of these dual check devices, these dual check valves in certain circumstances. That circumstance is an auxiliary well that is not connected. This allows them to bury it. It doesn't have to be in a box, but it does require somebody to cut it into the line. And it's good for 10 years. So that with that easier option.
No inspection. I'm sorry to interrupt you. For 10 years.
No inspection for 10 years.
Every 10 years.
With that easier option, FDEP kind of stepped up enforcement. And some of you may remember FDEP had somebody come to ECUA's board and speak about the requirements that were going to be required, and this was one of them. And I think certain board members let them know how they felt about those requirements, and it's pretty similar to how you all feel today, that they were ridiculous and not needed, and kind of, I wouldn't say ran them out of the house, but pretty close. So with that, we were allowed to develop this letter that people would certify that they weren't connected, and that allowed us to have compliance with the rule. We were the only ones, we were told, in the state of Florida that had that letter. The problem with that letter is we had no means of enforcing it. We had no means of getting people to send it. And so we didn't have good compliance. And then in 2020, DEP started telling us every year, you're out of compliance, you're out of compliance. And the letter doesn't meet the requirements of the rule. So we started negotiating with them around 2020
It took a long time, but that's when we started really negotiating for the consent order. So a little bit of background on the current program. It's a fairly big program. There's 8,700 commercial customers and about 8,000 residential customers that the backflow program people oversee. About 4,800 have these auxiliary wells. Okay. Backflow requirements and testing are different for commercial and residential. You can kind of break those into two separate groups. Commercial, as we just mentioned, require testing every year, and there's no dual check option. Okay. Residential, you back into, depending on the device, can be, if there can be tested, can be done every 2 years. You put in a double check or you put in the RPZ, I think it's every 2 years. So, but the dual check does not require that. There's some difference there, but the auxiliary well, as we mentioned, connected to the house, would have to be above grade, and but if it's not connected, the dual check device can be installed, can be buried directly, doesn't have to be put in a box. But what FDEP said with that rule was that if a well is present, an auxiliary well is present on the property, it represents a risk that must be protected against. And that's the heart of the issue. If it's there, all it takes is a hose to connect it, and somebody can be living off the water and connect it to our system.
Mr. Palmer, as you're going through this presentation, how do we know someone has a private well?
I'll get to that in a minute if you want to wait. Or
Okay.
you want me to tell you now?
Well, I'm just curious because I live in Well Central in my neck of the woods, so I'm just curious.
Very
how-
simply, we got a list from the Water Management District. They're required to permit a well if you drill a well, and we have that list.
Okay, so if it was permitted, these folks,
These
okay,
are wells are permitted, generally speaking.
permitted wells, okay, which that makes sense. You pull the permit, you get a list of the permits of the wells, and okay. Because there's a lot of old properties. I'm just saying, like in the woods. I'm just curious how we're policing or regulating that. Ms. Campbell, you got a question?
I can wait till the end.
Okay, all right, go ahead, Mr. Palmer. I'm sorry.
Okay. Our program, commercial backflows, we've been in compliance for many years. Never had a problem. Why? If they don't comply, we've had the ability to shut them off. And so they complied. That was the model. They want their water service. They get their backflow tested. You know, don't get me wrong. We send them lots of letters. We call them. We work with them. We make sure they know their water is about to be cut off. It's not just like we go out and cut their water off. It's a program that we work with, and it's brought us into compliance. Residential, generally we haven't been in compliance until recently, and some of those, like, have recently come into compliance. I already covered most of this. So, speaking to the consent order for residential dedicated irrigation, we had 478 connections. That's where somebody just connects their irrigation system to the water line.
Oh, of course he does.
There's only about 20 of those left to come into compliance, and probably very shortly we will be in compliance with those dedicated residential connections.
I'm sorry, back up. I was listening to something. You have 20 that are not.
Currently don't have a backflow.
Okay, is this, and this is residences?
This is residential dedicated irrigation. This is not
Oh, okay.
auxiliary wells.
Just
This is somebody
irrigation.
connected to our system doing irrigation.
Okay.
Do you have a number of wells not connected that aren't in compliance?
That's the one, I think that's the ones we really care.
Okay. I'm just trying to give you a little overview.
No, thank you.
Yes, I do have that number. We're required to bring in, the consent order requires us, as he mentioned, to bring into compliance 210 a quarter, 210. So we've been sending out these letters, but we have 5 years because of the number to come into compliance. We've been sending these letters out in groups, so not to overwhelm staff. There's only so many staff to handle the phone calls and not to overwhelm the board with phone calls. Thus, one neighbor may get a letter, the other one is yet to get it. So that's why somebody says, I don't have it, my neighbor, why didn't my neighbor have it? Your neighbor may be coming. There's other reasons for that. We don't know what's on private property, and we don't regulate what's on private property. We can't go on private property without permission. So we got a list of properties, as we mentioned, from the Water Management District. If they never got a permit, they may never get a letter from us. Or their neighbor may never get a letter from us. So we don't know, and we can't go on private property and find out. So there's a couple of reasons. They may not have gotten their letter yet, or we don't know they have a well. So that's when you hear, why didn't my neighbor get one? That's the answer. He may not have gotten it yet, but, and he may not get one if he doesn't have a permitted well. We talked, I think you talked a little bit about fines for noncompliance, $500 per day, to not timely comply, and $15,000 per day for violation, for civil violations. One of the misunderstandings is DEP rules requires us to have these backflow devices. It doesn't tell us how we have to do this. Our program is the one that said, if you don't do this, we'll disconnect you from the water system. That's our means of ensuring compliance. So when they call DEP and they say they're shutting off my water, DEP says it's not our rule. It's ECUA's, I believe that's what they're referring to. It's our means of compliance that they're saying is not their rule. Their rule just says you have to come into compliance, not how. Yeah.
Sure.
When we first looked at this, we talked about how it should be, this program should be run. It was basically agreed that those who are required to do it should be the ones paying for it. And so the program was set up that way. We set up the program where the homeowner has a choice if not connected. He can install it himself. He has to provide some sort of proof that he did it, but it's not necessarily anything too drastic. He can hire a plumber and have the plumber do it. He can install that $60 device or $70 device, but he's got to pay a plumber to come out and do it, or he can join our program. It's called an opt-in. It means it's their option. They have 3 options. And they can pay for it one time on their utility bill if they opt in, or they can pay for it over 2 years. Alternatively, this is kind of a kicker, they can fill out a form certifying their well doesn't work. And we've had a lot of those.
Imagine that.
Imagine that, yes. A little bit more about the opt-in program.
But this is only, sorry, Mr. Palmer, so the folks saying that well doesn't work, those are individuals that have the option only if they're not connected to our water system. So like someone connected to our water system that has a well do they have that option to say it doesn't work?
That's a nuance I'm not that familiar with. If they were connected but had a well that's inoperable, I don't think we would allow that. I think we would still want them to have
I'm just
a
thinking
backflow.
outside the box, you know,
Yeah.
people, okay. So primarily this is, I'm assuming this is for individuals who have a private well not connected. And if it's not working, they're sending off the certification saying it doesn't work.
It doesn't work.
But an individual who is connected and also has a well cannot send that letter off saying it doesn't work.
I would have to verify that, but I don't think so.
Okay.
I think we would not accept that, and I don't think DEP would.
And I'm not
accept
sure we
that.
should. I'm not saying we should. I'm
So
just.
the cheapest that I see for us to do it, and I know that, I'm just gonna ask this question, I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Ms. Campbell.
So the cheapest I see on here for us to do it, put on their dual check, is $416.88. The cheapest, I'm sure, for plumber to do it would probably be a lot more than that.
In order to
And
develop
they're not gonna let you do it over 2 years. So that's if you do it over 2 years. What percentage is that? Can I ask that question? What percentage rate are we charging them for that?
I think it was based on an 8% over 2.
Can I ask a question? I'm sorry, I just like to ask a lot of questions. Can I ask a question of Mr. Smith? What percentage do we get on our investments, the best? Probably 5, 4?
Currently we're averaging about 3.8, 4% roughly
That's
a
what I
month.
thought, 3, yeah, I thought it was probably around 4.
Not
Okay.
8.
That's
Yeah,
good.
Not,
That's,
not 8%.
okay, yeah. So, okay, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead, you can finish.
Okay, so a little more about our current
Building my-
program.
Program here.
We went out, got bids from contractors to install these devices. We got prices for $400 and $650 for 1-inch meters. It shows you the number of customers there and the cost. And that's the opt-in program, and then you can pay that once, or you can divide it over 2 years. And cost per year is listed there. It's per month, $17.37 if you do it over 2 years. If you have a 5/8 inch meter, or $29 if you have a 1-inch meter. What we have done is not do direct bury in a straight through dual check. We are using a device that costs a little more. However, you can see the components of that check valve are replaceable. You don't have to take it apart in the future to replace it. And we're also putting it in a box, a small plastic box. So that's what the pictures you see there. This is the program we developed for ease of maintenance in the future, being able to find it and to be able to replace the innards, working parts without taking the line apart.
What's the cost of that one?
That's $400 for the 5/8 inch meter, or $650 for the 1-inch meter. So that's the cost of this particular option. So they have several options that we just mentioned. Talked about it already. Our means of compliance is to inform them that we'll need to cut their water service off until they install a device or they sign up for the opt-in program. And that's been pretty successful as far as getting people to sign up. There are other options for compliance. Other utilities are due. You may hear, our utility's not doing that. Some utilities install a dual check on every single meter. They just do it as part of the meter installation. Every single meter, whether they got an auxiliary well or not. Some are doing it on just those auxiliary wells, and they're direct burying them. So that is an option. That's something we can do it. We can do it on our side of the meter, or we could do it on the back side with their agreement. Those are possible options. There are some utilities I know that charge a backflow fee. I believe the City of Milton charges 50 cents to every customer, whether they have an auxiliary well or not, and call it a backflow fee. So those are a couple options, a little more detail on those. And using that $400 price we have for the system we've set up, another option would be to spread the cost out. We did it over 2 years because most of the devices we were doing for dedicated or other options, you had to have tested in 2 years, and we wanted them to own it within 2 years. This we could spread it out over 10 years. That would lower the monthly cost significantly. And then after 10 years, you're supposed to replace the component part. And that would be fairly, who knows what it costs 10 years from now, but it's probably $80 in today's, and then it'd be good for another 10 years, but you'd have to have somebody go out and do it. Paid all at once. We currently have about 3,400 customers left, so it'd be $1.5 million using that mix of customers and that cost. If we did it on our side of the meter, there's no cost in that for maintenance. Of course, if we did that many of them, the cost could go down. But if we were going to maintain it, we might have to add cost for personnel to maintain them. We could also go with a cheaper dual check valve and just direct bury it. That's another option to save costs, but we didn't really recommend that for future maintenance. So main options, we can stay with the current program, but change the payback period to 10 or 20 years to reduce the monthly cost. Or we could install it, we can maintain it. We can spread the capital cost out. As we said, we have 5 years to come into compliance. We came into compliance on a lot of wells very quickly because a lot of people just filled out in an operable form. So we're ahead in the schedule, and that's why we can pause and take a look at these options. So those are kind of the options. We can spread out the cost. We can do it a little differently. We can install it. We can own and maintain it. Not that I necessarily recommend that. I think the check valve should be the owner's responsibility of those people. And lastly, options to fight the rule. I think we've asked our lobbyists to set up a meeting in Tallahassee with senior personnel to discuss it. They're supposed to get back to us on when that meeting's scheduled, but we don't have it scheduled yet. And there's legal options which can be pursued, which have already been discussed.
Does that conclude your presentation, Mr. Palmer?
That concludes my presentation. So what questions do you have?
So, and again, just let me start out by saying yes. I mean, I think we're not going to discuss legal options, per our attorney's recommendation in the public setting currently. But just looking at it, reading the rule, they've already, as I said before, addressed connected and non-connected. So for us to go there and ask for a variance of some sort for the non-connected, which is particularly, selfishly speaking, that's what the biggest absurdity about this whole thing is to regulate non-connected private wells. But they've already addressed it in that legislation. So it's either we petition them to do away with all of it, and again, that's to say it's an uphill battle is an understatement, and probably futile. But certainly petitioning our legislators to lobby on our behalf is an option. I'm not sure how successful that would be either. But the $85, is what I'm thinking. Now, that's the valve. And I know a little bit about the plumbing business, not near as much as Mr. Downs does. But I don't know, a plumber's not going to get out of bed for $85. I can tell you that right now, and even show up to your house. So that's the price of that check valve. I'm thinking $65 to $85.
Somewhere in there.
Okay, and then a plumber is probably going to be minimum to show up, and that's if you know the guy, probably a couple $100 to show up. So that would probably be included in that. So you're probably talking about $250 to $300 minimum if you're going to have a plumber put it in. I'm just spitballing here. Which is better than $450 to $650. And now you're telling us, because again, like Ms. Campbell alluded to, I'm getting a lot of phone calls about this, and thank you for answering the question, because FDP is making us out the bad guys. FDP is saying, we never said we'd shut your water off. That's ECUA's decision to do that. And they leave out the fact that if we don't comply, it's $500 a day. And if they find that we're grossly negligent in not doing it, it's $1,500 a day, up to $1,500 a day, which the ratepayer is going to be paying, which means all of us, those that have wells and don't have wells. So, that does. I'm going to let Ms. Campbell get on to the pricing and the rates. But 85 is a lot better than 450 to 650. But there's a lot of individuals who don't have the skill set and wherewithal to replace it themselves. So I'm just going to make the assumption that most people wouldn't be a bad idea to call a licensed plumber out there to do it. And now you're talking minimum $300 to put that in. That's just that single valve. And again, I'm not quoting pricing or speaking for any plumbing company whatsoever. I'm just saying that I would think that would be a minimum, which still is a hardship on a lot of folks. I'll turn this over to, I'm not sure you have the, Ms. Benson.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Palmer. Well, first of all, I think this board has a noble history of defying regulations which we think don't make sense. And my favorite was the beach mouse issue, where we were supposed to dig tunnels under Perdido Key Drive with appropriate signage so that they would know whether to go left and right. I mean, we did the right thing. And when this all came up, I think we were equally righteous saying, wait, what risk is there? And I remember comparing it to people having to have a fallout shelter in case a meteor should come onto their property, and what is the cost-benefit analysis. But then I want to step back. I mean, we've been talking about these costs, and oh, by the way, as I think back, I misspoke. My installations were not 85. That's the check that's every 2 years. And I know I just paid one of those recently, and that was done by a licensed plumber. But anyway, I want to go back to our mission, and our core mission is to provide healthy, safe drinking water to the people in this county. And we are policymakers. None of us up here is a scientist. And that's why we have scientists at EPA and DEP who have rules to make sure that we are providing healthy, safe drinking water. And I guess I have to step back and think, what if we're right? Okay, and you don't really need this. There has been an expense, and I don't minimize this. But what if they're right, and this, we are posing a danger to the people for whom we provide drinking water? And I take that pretty darn seriously. I mean, you look at Flint, Michigan, that poisoned people because of the drinking water. And I would rather have people shoot at me for an expensive device than I would have drinking water that kills little children in their schools. And there have been recent stories about contaminations by terrorist governments of drinking waters in the United States in very recent history. Now, if I wanted to kill a lot of people in Pensacola, I don't think I would go after a private well, frankly. But these regulators truly believe, because they fought us every step of the way, they believe there's a reason that backflow preventers are necessary. And at this point, I have to say, okay, if I'm wrong and they're right, I'm going to have to bow to the regulators. And it's really hard because I've fought this so long, it's part of who I am. And it's hard to say, well, maybe I'm wrong. But at this point, I think we have to say, Uncle, you know, they have us now in a consent agreement. There are fines, which will cost all of our customers. So I think our job now is to find a way that the cost can be reasonable for the people who are going to have to pay it, whether it's spreading it out at a much lower rate, or some other system where we spread the cost across everyone. I don't know what that answer is, but I think we have to say we have fought the good fight, and as much as we still think we might be right, I think we have got to follow what our regulators say. So there you go.
Ms. Campbell.
Well, I think we've already voted on that we would do what we have to do. My thing is, I don't want to scare people to death and tell them I'm gonna turn their water off and not give them an option to help them and make them go to a plumber and pay a lot of money and pay it right now and not have the option to spread it out. I also don't want to charge somebody 8% when I'm getting 4% on the money I borrow. So I would like to drop it to 4% at a max that we would charge over the 2-year period or whatever it takes. I mean, what difference is it? 50 cent maybe, but and do it for them if they want. Now, if they don't want, they can go find it the cheapest route whatsoever. With all that said, I voted no on it, but it's here and we already have it. So I think we really need now to try to make it easy as we can. And I appreciate this board fighting this for so many years, because I don't think it's necessary. And all I'm talking about is the people that have absolutely no cross connection. If you have a cross connection, I think you need to have a backflow preventer to keep everybody safe. I don't agree you need it on a well that has absolutely no chance of cross connecting. And I think it's a crazy rule, but it's a rule that we voted on already. And I think that, I just think we need to make it as easy on the people that we serve as we can, whether that's put it on for them at the time we put in or offer it to the people that have it now. We got to worry now about the people that we're sending these letters to. And I want to make it as easy on them as we can. So.
Thank you, Ms. Campbell. And I concur. I mean, I can't wrap my mind around the logic of a private well. I mean, I can't see the downside. Maybe you can give me some examples, Mr. Palmer, because this is, but I just can't see private well, not connected, no cross connection, watering my lawn and how that could possibly be because, yeah, if it's something contaminated in the aquifer via my irrigation system, then of course that's going to be in all the aquifer. That's going to be the aquifer as a whole. So I don't see how. But anyway, I don't know. It's Ms. Palmer. Yeah, please respond.
All it takes is a hose from one to the other, and you're connected. You can hook a hose to your sprinkler, and you hook a hose to your house. Get the right connector, and you're connected. People can do that, and people do it every year when they prime their pumps.
You're talking about hooking a hose to the well, but if it's a private well not attached to ours, am I missing something?
You hook a hose to the well and a hose to the house.
Oh, hose to the house.
Normally, that's how most people prime their wells if they're priming their well.
Okay, so you're priming. Okay, you're doing that to okay. Yeah, because I'm sitting here trying to wrap my mind around that. I'm like, okay, because if I'm attached to county water and I have a well, I'm not sure why. Okay, but you're saying
most people on the well have a hose bib. You can connect to the hose bib, connect the other end with a female connector to female, and you're connected.
That's possible. That's reaching. I'm not sure why, but okay. But to prime a pump of some sort. To lower the water bill or something, or?
Oh, you could do it to lower your water bill.
Yeah. Okay.
But you'd have to shut off your.
Yeah, sometimes it's a lot of it's a lot of work.
Okay. Chances are the water pressure in our system is going to be higher in your sprinkler pump.
Right. That was the other thing is because you're using more power for the pump, so I think it'd be counterproductive to do that because the cost of the pump.
One of the big issues with backflow potential is a line break. We lose pressure in our system, and if somebody's connected, it can flow backwards. And we have meters that do register that and do flow backwards.
And again, I think the big pushback you got from myself and all the board members, but especially Ms. Campbell and myself, were private wells. So I'm with Ms. Campbell. I'm not necessarily against backflow preventers when you're tied into our system. It was the private well that I was concerned with. Mr. Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, generally, I'm in compliance with the law too. Concerned about those customers who are not connected principally. Otherwise, backflow preventer is in order, and I think as you said, commercial operation already has complied, and then there are only 20 otherwise who have not. And but it's those who are totally disconnected. I want to talk a little bit about that dual, dual check valve, and you were talking about installation. The more we did at ECUA, that would reduce our costs in terms of maintenance or installation. Is that correct?
If we did more of them,
Yeah.
what's your question? I'm not following the question.
Right. If the more we did, the less it would cost ECUA to install each one of them. Yes.
If we were to do a whole bunch more and rebid it, I think the cost would come down, but there's no guarantee.
So what is our cost for dual check valve if we installed it on our side of the meter?
If we did it similar, I imagine it would be very similar in cost. If we did it in a box, the problem with doing it on our side of the meter, you run into a lot of obstructions, not so much residential, I would think, but you could still run into sidewalks, you run into issues of landscaping or other things. Either side of the meter, you can run into that, but doing it could come down, and we could do it. The plastic meter, the plastic or a less expensive dual check, let me say it that way. And not in a box, this cost could come down. They're not going to come down tremendously because most of the cost is in the installation.
And so that $400 is a cost we're talking about for installing on a 5/8.
Correct.
Okay. Most residential water lines are
5/8.
5/8. Okay.
I think we had, what was it, of the ones we have left, 2,600 customers have the 5/8, and I think it was 688 have the 1 inch.
I guess I'm looking for options for the consumer in terms of, I didn't know anything before today about the dual check valve. Now that I know about the dual check valve, that's relatively inexpensive. And then the cost of installation, if it's just cutting the line, that's just need to be a knowledgeable person to do that. And you said we could, in practice, do it ourselves if.
Some utilities have done that, yes, sir.
So I'm trying to get the information I need to say what direction I would like to inform consumers to go. You know, because I know the people who've called me. I don't want us to send that threatening letter out to them. You know, the residential persons, they don't not pay their bills. They pay their bills. They don't want their water turned off. You don't have to threaten them about turning the water off. They're gonna get alarmed and wonder why. You know, they got to say that to me, and I've been paying my bills for years. And so now the only question is, what's the most inexpensive way to comply? That's what I'm trying to get out of
We could
you.
develop an option where we did it and charge them so much a month to maintain it, to install it, to cover the cost, just to add it onto their meter, or we could just pay it outright as part of CIP if that's what the board desires.
And that could be part of the letter that you sent out in terms of compliance.
That could be a third option.
Yes, but in the letter, when we talk about compliance, here's an option that we could provide a service, and it could be done. You could pay for it this way via either one charge or monthly charges until it's paid.
But if we were to own it, install it, I think I would recommend we do a monthly fee just to maintain it. We're going to send somebody out there to dig it up and install it and do it. If we're
Mr. Palmer, I think Mr. Williams was talking about what you have already suggested, which is break that up into a manageable fee and add it to their bill for a period of time to when it's paid off.
And would it be, if we installed it, would it be less than if we hired a plumber, or if they hired a plumber to do it?
I haven't done that analysis, but I would think so. I mean, we'd have to have some personnel to do it. Brian, I don't think Regions has the personnel they can dedicate to this. I think we would hire some, especially it's a one-time thing, we would hire it out So we would be hiring a plumber to do it.
I'm interested in that part of the presentation. Most would qualify for the dual check valve. Now, I'd like to know what would be the cost of installing a dual check valve if ECUA did it versus if they had to hire a certified plumber. And if so, could we notify the customers with that option to be in compliance and move on from this?
Pardon me, Mr. Chairman, I think if the board wants to have a consensus or direction, we could definitely bring back a, more detailed granular program, including cost, including potential, charges. And, we could come back with a more complete program. We just kind of hit high level conceptual, but, if the board has as a consensus or majority direction, then we can definitely bring back something.
And as I speak about it, I'm principally talking about those systems that are completely separate
Yeah.
and not, unless they did something drastic to contaminate our water system. They, for 20, 30 years, have not been connected. So if we need to come back with a more detailed plan, I would appreciate that.
Just for that option.
Yes, just for that option.
We need to hear from the whole board. I mean, we need a direction from the whole board.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I would move that our next meeting, that you outline the possibilities of how to install and pay for these systems with the different options. But I would also not limit it to just those people who have the isolated well. I mean, if we're going to look at a program, we ought to look comprehensively at the different scenarios.
And the more expensive options as well.
Sure, sure.
for the-
And so that we
maybe-
can have, A, B, C, D. Now, the question, and that's my motion, I'm sorry. If there's a second.
I will second that motion. And I would like to add, the only addition I'd like to add is if we are paying, that we don't charge 8%, we charge 4%. Thank you.
I think we all heard you.
Okay, thank you.
And
And then,
concurred.
you add, okay, so we're gonna look at the options. And then at that point, we'll
They-
come back and vote on that, because to Mr. Williams' comment, I would like to have that once we've decided on what options there are, once staff has educated us what those options are, once the board has approved and or voted on it, it could at that time be added to the letter.
Right.
The options to the letter, which I think is what Mr. Williams was alluding to, is add those options to the letter once, and I'll put the cart before the horse.
So
once
what I would say is, I think we should, at this point, since we're looking at a 1-month lag, suspend these letters.
Yes.
Until we've done that. I
Yes.
can't imagine
I-
that DEP would object to that, since we're obviously going in the direction they
We're
want.
ahead in the schedule, so we're good. We don't have to.
So suspend the letters,
So-
come up with the,
so
with
someone-
the options.
So are you making?
I don't
a
know if anybody
motion?
read my board report,
She made
but
the,
Part of my motion.
she made the
Okay.
option then.
And
So-
that part of it to suspend these letters.
And it's like one option of they do it themselves, one option of we do it for them, spread it over
Yeah.
several years, or they can go see a licensed plumber.
Ms. Yarborough, do you have anything to add before?
no, staff looks forward to direction, and we'll bring back a more comprehensive, plan.
Okay, so we've added to this motion, so since you initiated it, Ms. Benson, would you like to give us a recap on this
Well, I
motion,
think she's
please?
still the same.
It's the same thing.
Same.
Okay.
I moved that.
Eh, Okay. Cancel it, okay, suspend the letters effective immediately until we recircle back, okay, great. So we have a motion, Ms. Benson, did you second that, Ms. Campbell?
Yes, I did.
Mr. Chairman, before you proceed, let me just mention something.
Okay.
Just bear in mind, if we come back next month, there's a proposal for a different fee structure, perhaps a lower interest rate, as Ms. Campbell mentioned. We will need to notice that as a fee change, as a change in our fees that's built into the code. So
Okay.
it'll be implemented the following month. If that makes sense.
Okay, And I'm glad, Mr. Palmer, you said we're ahead of schedule, so we got a little wiggle room. Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right, so I think we have a motion, we have a second. Please vote. Hold that, hold that, hold that. Okay, all right. And it passes 5-0. All right, does anybody have anything for Mr. Palmer? Thank you, Mr. Palmer.
And I'd just like to thank Mr. Palmer and Mr. Pugh, because that represented a great deal of research and work to do that. And I appreciate where they got us today.
That was a long, okay, that was a long 6B. Moves us to item 7, approval of minutes, regular board meeting, July 28th, 2026.
So moved.
One technical correction to the minutes. We didn't have the presentation by the attorney at the last board meeting, so it was listed as presented.
It's true. That's true. Okay. Because Mr. P, you're out.
That's right, and I
You're out.
asked for it to be
In
moved to
court.
the end or moved to next month.
Yes, that's noted
That's-
in the minutes on the very last page. Let's see, on page 34, it says Ms. Campbell formally recognized and welcomed, oh, I'm sorry, hold on 1 second, hang on. I know that there's a motion in here. Hang on 1 second.
But in the presentations under 8B, it's listed.
Right, that's only because that's how it was listed on the agenda, so I couldn't remove it from the agenda. So it's listed there, but, hang on 1 second. Let's see.
Actually, that's on the Citizen Advisory Council.
Right, on the CAC report, because that was what was listed on the agenda.
Mhm.
So I didn't remove it because it was listed, because we were waiting to see if he was going to come, so. Let's see. It will reflect in the board minutes that, Ms. Campbell moved it. But if you look there, it just says that that's what was, how it was listed on the agenda. But if you'd like some more clarification on there, I can add and update the minutes if you'd like.
Long as it's noted by the attorney that we're still looking forward to his presentation.
Are you
Right.
talking about the Citizen Advisory?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
I see what you're saying. It's showing 8B.
That's right. It's on the CAC minutes, and this is the board agenda. So like, these are the board minutes, not the CAC minutes. So those will go out probably tomorrow. So you'll see in the CAC minutes that it's reflected that we moved it.
Yeah.
But
that's
this is
what-
the board minutes, and
that's
this
what
is
I was
just the CAC report.
Okay. He did make a report. Okay.
And then we will have that presentation on the September CAC meeting. Legal will do that.
That's what I was thinking that we did.
Okay, so any other questions on
No, I
item
moved
8?
it. Did we get a second?
Okay. Ms. Campbell makes a motion to move
Minutes.
items A, B, and C.
No.
What do you,
Are you moving to the, I made a motion that we approve the minutes.
oh, okay, I'm sorry. I'm already,
Yeah, you're moving.
I'm ahead.
You're ahead. You ready to go, aren't you?
You know it's out of control when we have a debate about the approval of the minutes.
Right.
Just saying.
Right.
Okay, Okay, so I have a motion to approve the minutes by Ms. Campbell. Do I have a second? Mr. Williams, seconds. Please vote. And it passes 5-0. Moves us to now we're at item 8, report of the ECUA Citizens Advisory Committee of August 18, 2026.
Now,
Now it's your turn.
This is where it was moved from. So the Citizen Advisory Committee met on August 18th, 3 p.m. All members were present with the exception of Ms. Benson, Mr. Perkins. Item 7A was adoption general resolution GR 26101, authorizing executive director to sign an engineering facility service proposal from HDR Engineering for design of water treatment facility to replace the existing water treatment facility at the Hagler Well. Motion was made by Mr. Kirschner, second by Mr. Kimball, and the committee voted 10-0 in favor. Item 7B was adoption of general resolution GR 26103, authorizing executive director to execute a second extension to the contract with Calgon Carbon Corporation for granular active carbon supply and ancillary services. A motion was made by Mr. Kirschner, second by Mr. Kimball, and the committee voted 10-0 in favor. Item 7C, adoption of general resolution GR 26104, was a resolution authorizing executive director to execute a third renewal and extension of the annual electric motor and submersible pump repair and rewind service agreement with Gulf Coast Electric Motor Service, Inc. Motion was made by Mr. Kirschner, second by Mr. Kimball, and the committee voted 10-0 in favor. I would like to move items 7A through C for approval. Thank you, sir.
And second by Mr. Williams. Please vote.
Thank you.
And it passes 5-0.
And that concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Campbell. Moves us to item 9, consent agenda. 9A, GR 26105, a general resolution requesting board approval to cost share with Escambia County on the replacement of water mains and sewer force mains for the Oakland Drainage Improvement Project and providing an effective date. Mr. Yarborough.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Staff is requesting conceptual approval of a cost-sharing agreement with Escambia County, with ECUA committing $1 million for water and $750,000 for sewer expansion for a total combined ECUA contribution of $175 million. I'm sorry, $1.75 million. Big difference. The original plan contemplated approximately 2,500 feet of gravity sewer. However, the estimated construction cost came in at approximately $2.5 million for 25 new sewer connections, which works out roughly to $100,000, which staff doesn't believe represents an economical use of ECUA funds. Escambia County is evaluating whether the ECUA should, so we got some additional information to this today, and the cost share amount of $1.75 million is still being asked and requested by staff. However, we were looking for some flexibility in the permutation of how much was water and how much was sewer. But the fiscal impact would remain $1.75 million. The ECUA's participation would be contingent upon execution of the county ECUA cost sharing agreement, interlocal agreement, and also board approval of the upcoming fiscal year 27 CIP budget. Staff's here to answer any questions you may have. This is for the general location for this project is at Oakfield and North Old Palafox Highway.
Ms. Campbell.
I don't.
Ms. Benson.
So I assume the residences there are on septic. Are these septic tanks failing?
I will have to defer to Mr. Hayden on the status of failure. I know they're old.
Mr. Hayden.
Good afternoon. There is an existing low-pressure force main, so if the septic tanks do fail, then they'll be forced to connect to low pressure already. What we were wanting to do, and you may see on the exhibit map, there were a couple of side roads that we were hoping to get sewer to, but unfortunately the elevations just did not work out to where we could reach those side roads. So no real added benefit to having a gravity sewer line there other than to get people on gravity, which we'd love to do, but it's just not cost effective.
Yeah, so in terms of our priorities for sewer expansion, this is not where we would be putting our money. It doesn't meet the kind of criteria that we have typically said, like in near waterways and that sort of thing. So, and does anything need to be done regarding sewer lines for this project that the county wants to do to take place?
There's some that we would like to do. By way of this agenda, we would like that flexibility. Things are kind of in flux at the moment because we've made some changes to the design and we're not sure which way the county's wanting to go with a few things. They are under a very tight deadline with some grant money that they have to spend within a year, and so that's going to play a part into what we can do and what the county's willing to let us do as part of that project.
And if I might continue, Mr. Chairman, if we do this, would this pay the entire cost of this expansion and the customers would just simply have to get a plumber to tie in, or what would the customer cost be?
So the way that the agenda item was written was that we would have, for the sewer portion anyway, the estimate came in at $2.5 million. We were going to say we would be willing to pay $750,000. The county at the time was contemplating using some of their grant funds to offset that amount. And then at that time, that would be, yes, that would be gravity sewer, and then the customer would simply just have to pay to do the work on private property to connect. But that could be very well subsidized by CDBG funds that the county has under their umbrella.
So just for one final, when we were contemplating the Brownsville area, what we found, and this was just, this was a turnkey. This was a gift between the state and ECUA and so forth, but people still didn't want to tie in. Is there any reason to think that people will tie in to this if we do this?
No, ma'am. None more so than what we have experienced in other areas. You might have a few pockets of folks that really want to connect and they're very boisterous about it, which is great. But overall, that willingness to connect has still remained fairly low, like in the 20 to 30%. 30% would be great if we could get that, but it's been pretty hard.
I don't want to do anything to damage our relationship with the county on these projects because it's been a wonderful vehicle for us to do sewer expansion, but this doesn't seem to meet any of the things that we want to do. And if it's a priority of the county, I would probably say okay, but I just am concerned that it's kind of out there. So anyway, that's all. Looks like it might.
I'm waiting for my opportunity to speak.
He's been waiting patiently over here. Mr. Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And my understanding with gravity sewer is when we've been getting grant money, it's been in areas that are close to the waterway. Generally, we want gravity drain sewer throughout because it's a public health benefit, and compliance, as you said, is normally what it is, but over time, usually 10 years maybe, it's at least 50% or better. Or whenever that septic tank fails, they have no other option but to connect. So whenever we can get gravity drain sewer in an area, it benefits that area. And whenever we could do it with the county, it benefits us also. And so it's a win-win for us as well as the county and the residents. And we want to encourage gravity drain sewer throughout the county and in particular in the heart of the county, which is District 3.
Mr. Chairman?
Last question I would ask is when would the compliance or the agreement be signed?
It, an interlocal agreement
Yes.
between the county and ECUA.
Yes.
If there is one, it would likely come in October. So that's still, we're still working on that, and whether or not that may come before ECUA or not, we're not sure at the moment. So,
Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
thank you.
Ms. Benson.
Thank you. After that impassioned, articulate argument by Mr. Williams, I would support the gentleman from District 3 in supporting this project.
Thank the gentlewoman from District 2.
Ms. Campbell.
That's why I asked where this was, because I wanted to hear from that district owner of how they felt about this. So thank you for letting us know that, Mr. Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Hayden. I see no further questions. Moves us to item B, GR 26106, a general resolution authorizing the executive director execute a renewal and extension of the sole source annual agreement with Envirotech of America, Inc. for the System 1000 grease control system and providing an effective date for the agreement. Mr. Yarborough.
Staff is seeking board approval of a one-year renewal and extension with Envirotech of America for the System 1000 grease control system used at 27 of our lift stations. The supplier provides the equipment and chemicals and remotely operates the system. The System 1000 is a proprietary system utilizing PX 700 and has been used by ECUA for grease control at these various locations. The fiscal impact is $134,622 annually.
I see no questions on item B. Moves us to item C, GR 26107, a general resolution authorizing the executive director execute a sole source annual purchase order with Hayward, Florida Incorporated, Winter Park, Florida for their Hessant odor naturalizer and providing an effective date for the agreement. Mr. Yarborough.
Staff's requesting authorization for the sole source annual purchase of high scent odor control chemicals used in our high vent odor control systems. The high vent system has been used throughout the collection system to address nuisance odors. High Sense is the proprietary odor neutralizing chemical used in these systems. The anticipated usage is 2 55-gallon drums per month for a total annual fiscal impact of $125,400 plus freight.
Ms. Campbell.
Is this new system or are we?
I'm going to ask Mr. Episcopo.
I just know my people. When I first came on the board, I had so many.
Mr. Piscopo,
calls,
come on
and
up,
I have
sir.
not had any, so I just want to make sure this is something that we're not changing.
Good afternoon, everyone. It is not a new system. We've been using it for quite some time,
Okay, that's my question.
and it works very well.
Yeah, I was going to say we've had no issues. So if we're continuing the same thing, I am all about it. Thank you. Thank you for
Thank you, Mr.
confirming
Piscopo.
that, Mr. Piscopo.
No further questions on item C. Moves us to item D, GR 26108, a general resolution authorizing an amendment to special resolution SR 2666 for establishing new and revised charges for miscellaneous fees, system extension permitting fees, single service permitting fees, and inspection fees. Mr. Yarborough.
This is basically a cleanup. We're just correcting naming conventions in the recommended fee summary table and a reference to the ECUA code section 14.5 relating to service charges for worthless checks, drafts, and money orders. This doesn't establish a new fee.
So no
It
modifications,
doesn't have any.
just simply
yeah,
clarification
It's just
on the
changing
existing.
names and referencing a part of our code. It has no fiscal impact. It doesn't increase or change the fees at all.
Okay, thank you so much. I see no questions on item D. Moves us to item E, GR 26109, a general resolution authorizing the executive director execute a change order for the acquisition of a granular activated carbon vessel to replace one utilized at the Villa Well site with funding from RW001 NGAC filter, vessel maintenance, and providing an effective date. Mr. Yarborough.
So the Villa Well currently has 4 granular activated carbon vessels used for removal of iron. One of the vessels has failed inspection during the last media changeout and was not refilled, leaving the well operating with only 3 vessels. The anticipated cost to repair the failed vessel is about $85,000, and the repair process would take about 5 months. And a new vessel under ECUA's existing Calgon carbon contract only costs $109,000. So you're weighing the difference between $85,000 to repair something that isn't going to last as long as a brand new, and a brand new one costs $109,000. To expedite the work, staff proposes redirecting one of the previously approved vessels to the Villa Well. And Calgon can rearrange its production schedule to provide that vessel in approximately 3.5 months. Staff would then order another vessel to keep the other projects on schedule. The fiscal impact will be $109,038.
Okay, any questions on item E? Okay, moves us to item F. GR 26110, general resolution amending general resolution number GR 25141 to increase the authorized not to exceed amount for the purchase of garbage and recycling cans from Schaefer Plastics North America LLC under Sourcewell contract number 120324-SFR, authorizing executive director to execute purchase orders and related documents, authorizing funding from project RT 902 residential container replacement, and providing an effective date. Mr. Yarborough.
Due to higher than anticipated demand for residential garbage and recycling containers, staff's requesting additional purchasing authority under the existing contract. The original authorization was for $458,898. Staff's requesting an additional $98,000, increasing the total authorized not to exceed amount to $556,898.81. The vendor under a Sourcewell contract and is under a Sourcewell contract, and the funding source doesn't remain unchanged. Again, the fiscal impact is an additional $98,000.
Mr. Williams.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. Quick question. What more do we get for the additional $98,000?
How many containers?
If that's what we're going to be getting, yes.
That's what we're buying is additional containers. I
Yes.
don't know the exact number. I don't know if Mr. Fitzpatrick wants to talk about the number of containers that $98,000 can buy, as he uses ChatGPT to figure it out.
Mr. Fitzpatrick.
Through the chair, board? Yeah, great question. That's roughly 1,700 cans. Yes, sir.
That's it?
Yes, sir.
And
Yes, sir.
that's going to put us in position for the remainder of the fiscal year?
Of this fiscal year, yes, sir. Last fiscal year, we spent $600,000. This year, we were trying to budget lower, but he did not hit the mark. So we're back up to, we're not going to hit the $600,000 mark, but we're going to be below $600,000 this year.
$57 a can.
Yes. Yes, ma'am. That's how much they are.
That's pretty cheap.
So it's,
not bad at all.
yeah, we try to reuse what we get back, but there's a lot of, there's a lot of growth up in the northern part of it. There's a lot of people that tend to keep their cans when they get evicted. when they move out. And there's a lot of cans that just, disappear or get ran over. And 4th of July was interesting. We had a couple hundred of them that were burnt down to the ground because people put their stuff in the can that's still hot, and I guess they like to set it on fire for 4th of July. So that was
In
200
District
of them.
5, we have metal 55-gallon drums, so we
Right.
don't do that.
Yes, sir.
Okay, okay,
Yes.
so long as that meets the requirement for
Yes, sir.
the year. And are we still just buying lids for the recycle versus cans?
Both. Yes, sir.
Both
Yes, sir.
cans and lids?
Yes, sir. Yeah, lids get tore up a lot, quite a bit. So,
Okay,
yes, sir.
thank you, Mr. Chair.
Ms. Yarbrough, do you have something to add?
No, I'm sorry.
Nope, sorry. Nope, no worries. Okay. Moves us to item G, GR 26111A, General Resolution ratifying the Executive Director's emergency purchase order with North Hill Credit Trust for the purchase of a Roto Chopper B66L horizontal grinder, serial number 243468, ratifying actions taken and authorizing completion of related acquisition documents, authorizing expenditure of $650,000 and providing an effective date. Mr. Yarborough, tell us about this discounted
right.
roto mulcher.
As I mentioned at the previous board meeting, we had an unfortunate event where our existing older, I think it was 2013 roto chopper, caught on fire and was totaled. So Tommy quickly, and I do mean, I'm sorry, Mr. Fitzpatrick quickly jumped into action, found us a replacement in Louisiana. He and a mechanic traveled over to Louisiana. Took it apart for 2 to 3 hours, gave it a thorough exam and check, and we were able to purchase the item after Mr. Fitzpatrick's world-class negotiating skills were able to hammer the price down. So basically what we got was a step above what we had previously, a more robust model, a year old. We're going to have to spend about $20,000 in paint and replacement of parts and that kind of stuff. But we're going to get like a $1.2, $1.5 million asset due to Mr. Fitzpatrick's negotiating skills down to $650,000. And we've spent that and we have that. The other good thing, the other good thing is, so we spent $650,000. We're going to recover about $400,000 from insurance. So we're only going to be out about $250,000 and have an asset that's worth about $1.2, $1.5 million, which is a win-win. So sometimes when life gives you lemons, you're able to make lemonade. Mr. Fitzpatrick definitely made that. I want to thank him for his hard work on that. And I also want to thank Mr. Piscopo for his can-do attitude to get that 101,000 pound asset transported across multiple state lines and safely here. And thank you to both those gentlemen for making that happen. So staff's asking for ratification of that action and purchase.
Right? Make it sound so good.
Ms. Campbell.
Is there any warranty left on it since it's only a year old? Just a question. It's already here. We're going to use it.
Mr. Fitzpatrick.
I just wondered.
We just wanted to get your steps in.
Through the chair. Yes, ma'am. Great question. 3 months.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
I got a question.
Mr. Williams.
Yeah. What's the mechanic's name?
Gerald went with me. Yeah. Willie was out at the time. I normally would have took Willie, so Gerald went with me.
Okay, just wanted to make sure we acknowledge Gerald as well. For,
Absolutely.
Yes,
for being
absolutely.
part of the
Thank you.
team and the effort to get
Absolutely.
that done.
Absolutely.
Thank you
Yeah,
for
we
that,
had a 8-hour drive together.
Yeah. You definitely want to acknowledge 8 hours.
Yes. Thank you.
All right,
Thank you, sir. And we did stop at Buc-ee's. Yes, we did. Brisket on board.
Thank you, Mr. Fitzpatrick. All right, I see no further questions on item G. Moves us to item H, GR 26112A, general resolution authorizing the executive director to execute a purchase order with 108 Industrial LLC for the purchase of one new McNeilius 25 cubic yard heavy-duty rear loader refuse truck on a Freightliner M2-106 chassis, authorizing the expenditure of $207,762.02 from the project RT 400 annual residential vehicle replacement, providing an effective date. Mr. Yarborough.
So we have several of these loaders, coming up in the, once the budget's approved, if the budget's approved, coming up in fiscal year 27. Mr. Fitzpatrick identified an opportunity. These rear loaders normally cost about $400,000. He identified an opportunity with the dealership where a prior customer reneged on the purchase and stuck the dealer, and we were able to acquire this rear loader for almost half price at $207,000, $207,762.02 versus the $400,000. Mr. Fitzpatrick is always looking for deals and trying to be cognizant of the ratepayers' money. So we bring this opportunity to acquire in this fiscal year this rear loader, which will lessen our need to purchase another vehicle that's in the budget for the upcoming fiscal year. So staff's looking for permission to go ahead and purchase one new McNeilius 25 cubic yard heavy-duty rear loader refuge truck at a significant savings. And thank you to Mr. Fitzpatrick for bringing this opportunity to the board for consideration.
Okay. Ms. Campbell.
You just keep saving us money. Are you available to go Christmas shopping with me? Very good. Thank you very much for saving us all this money.
No further questions on item H. Moves us to item I, GR 26113, a general resolution authorizing the executive director to execute a purchase order with Parish Tractor Company LLC for the purchase of one new Kubota SBL 97 3H FCC compact track loader and related attachments, authorizing the expenditure of $93,329.36 from account RT 804 and providing an effective date. Mr. Yarborough.
Yes, sir. The existing skid steer is more than 10 years old. It's accumulated more than 6,000 operating hours and has incurred more than $57,000 in lifetime maintenance and repair costs. The unit is currently out of service and requires additional repairs estimated to exceed $25,000. ECUA is currently renting replacement equipment to maintain operations, and though those known maintenance and current repair costs exceed $82,000, which is approximately 88% of the quoted replacement price, given the age, operating hours, repair history, downtime, and current rental costs, staff recommends replacement. And this would, a brand new skid steer that we've identified would be $93,329.36. Fiscal impact.
It actually seems like they've gone down a little bit.
That's Mr. Fitzpatrick
They
hammering.
have gone down a little bit.
Hammering the mess out of them.
Because I purchased a few of these and they were like 102, 103. But the attachments, okay. I'm gonna have you negotiate. I need to have Mr. Fitzpatrick come negotiate for me on when I'm buying skid steers. Clearly, okay. I see no further questions on item. Equipment shopping for me, mine's very relative though. You know. All right, I see no further question on item I. Moves us to item, let's see, where are we at? Where are we at? J. I want to skip one, Mr. Webb. Item J, GR 26114, a general resolution authorizing the executive director to execute the third extension of the small scale utility projects 2023 annual contract with Roberson Underground Utility LLC.
Yes, sir. Thank you. The contract provides ECUA with an established contractor for small scale installations, repairs, and relocations of water mains, force mains, gravity sewer mains, and similar utility work. The contract itself is not funded. Each ECUA department using the contract issues a separate task order and funds that work for an approved funding source. So as far as fiscal impact, it's done on per task order. So the contract itself carries no specific funded amount. Each individual task is funded separately from the approved source.
Ms. Benson.
I move items A through J on the consent agenda.
Second.
I'll
We
second.
have a motion.
Mr. Chairman, before you proceed, you recall you may want to pull 9A. If I remember correctly, there was some need of flexibility that we didn't anticipate in the resolution, which locks you into 1,750,000 for the respective parts. So just,
Okay, so what?
I'll change it to B.
Okay. Ms. Benson, would you like to modify that?
Yes, B through J.
Okay. I have a motion to move items 9B through J. I
Second.
think, okay. Okay.
Whoever,
Keith
yeah,
seconded.
Mr. Perkins.
Okay. Perkins seconds, please vote. I think we're gonna modify 9A. We're gonna modify some verbiage, then we'll revote, just on that item. Okay. All right. Did you have any questions, Miss? Okay.
Nope.
You all right, please vote.
I've messed up my screen.
I had voted
Troublemaker,
before
but
we
I
got
totally
that.
messed up my screen.
Are you gonna restate, or are you going to make a suggestion of?
Maybe I can refresh.
I can make a suggestion.
Okay.
Want to vote for me?
Ain't going that far.
I'm not getting a vote prompt.
Thank you very much. Sorry, folks.
It caught up, Mr. Perkins. And it passes 5-0. So we needed to modify the language in 9A that would give staff a little bit more flexibility. Mr. Pugh, do you have a suggestion or
I
an
certainly can.
opinion
Let me
on-
make sure I'm understanding exactly, Mr. Yarborough, that we're looking to approve preliminarily up to 1.75, but give them flexibility between water and sewer.
Yes, sir.
All right, so my suggestion, Mr. Chairman, would be a motion to modify the resolution as attached to say the ECUA Board hereby approves cost sharing with Escambia County up to $1.75 million total, contingent upon the execution of a county/ECUA cost-sharing interlocal agreement and the board's approval of the fiscal year 27 CIP project budget. And then we'll, if the board approves that, we'll prepare a corrected or a modified resolution for signature.
So can we get a board member that can recite everything that Mr. Pugh just stated?
So moved.
Modified resolution.
And I'll second.
Okay. Mr. Perkins moves to modify the resolution,
Oh, okay.
and
I'll second.
Ms. Campbell seconds. Please vote. I was counting on your memory. Perkins, because that was a mouthful. And it passes 5-0. Okay, and we get to item 10, budget report. July 2026 year-to-date available budget report. Go ahead, Justin.
All right. Good afternoon, good evening. I have your year-to-date available budget report as of July 31st, 2026, which represents 83% of the fiscal year that we're currently in. The water and wastewater side, operating expenses, we were at 74% of the total budget, and on the sanitation and MRF, we were right at the same. I believe it was 74% there as well. So, on the operating expense side, we're, tracking a little under budget. Now, granted, we still have a lot of large encumbrances out there and funds that are expected to be spent throughout the end of the fiscal year. Most of those are on chemicals and supplies and things like that we're using real heavy right now. So, if anybody have any questions on that budget report?
I just heard under budget. I like that.
Yes, yes, we are, we're doing
Just
well.
hoping to dodge the hurricanes.
A quick question.
Mr. Williams.
Can you provide a listing of some of the line items in this year's budget that have increased the most? Whether they're chemicals or whatever they might be, especially if they went up over 10%, say?
Yes, yeah, I can certainly bring that, to the next board meeting or CAC meeting. Are you talking about for the 2027? Or
No, well, we just,
in our current budget, or the one that you voted on for next fiscal year?
yeah, the one we just voted on, which is
Yes.
for next fiscal year, where we only raised rates by 3% and 2%.
Correct.
Can you list some of the line items that have increased 10% or more over this last fiscal year?
Yes, and I can certainly get that. I know right off top of my head, one of the large increases was repair maintenance.
Repair maintenance?
Repair and maintenance.
Uh-huh.
It's one line item. We transferred the funding. We've had some things that was previously funded out of the CIP budget that was really more of a repair in nature, maintenance in nature, not necessarily creating new infrastructure or improving infrastructure. Large dollar amounts, but again, they were not. They were more of a maintenance item, so we've moved those into the operating budget, and then that was a big change. That was a couple of $1 million that was added there. I know that was the big one. And then there were certain chemicals and supplies, but I can get a detailed listing of those items.
That would be helpful just just for the ratepayers to get an idea of how we're trying to be good stewards over the resources by not passing on all costs
Right.
as the costs are passed on to us. So
Yeah.
appreciate that.
Yeah, I can get that for you, no problem.
Ms. Benson? Okay. I see no further questions on the budget. Thank you, Justin.
All right. I did have another report on there, which was the financial statements. It's an interim financial statement. Every month we just do the operating budget, and then quarterly we prepare a interim financial statement that has sources and uses. So it's really more in the same format that we do our annual budget on. Shows where we're at on major sources of revenues, expenditures, entity-wide, and then we've got a breakout by fund. We also have a balance sheet on here. Pretty much tells the same story on the revenue side. As of June 30th, which that was 75% of the year. Operating revenues, we were at 71% of our budget, which is very close. Non-operating revenues, we were at 175% of our budget. Most of that is due to settlement funds received on the PFAS litigation. Those items were not budgeted, so every dollar that we received on that is going to show as excess of our budget. Also, interest income, we've already exceeded our annual budget.
And that's great because that's
On-
as
on
a result of
investment
those funds that we're
Yeah,
just
a large
we're
portion
putting
of
in our
that is
in our
for
bank
those
account,
funds.
interest-bearing bank account.
Yes, and we're in an interest rate environment right now. It's good for investing funds,
Not good for
especially
borrowing.
especially as a governmental entity. Everything is kind of related to that U.S. Treasury yield, but borrowing funds not so great. Mortgage rates are high and auto loan rates are high, so we're taking advantage of that with our investments. Again, it's just got more of a big picture, total financial picture with the revenue, expenses, and balance sheets on there as well.
I see no questions. Thank you, Justin.
All right, thank you.
That moves us to item 11, Mr. Yarborough, Executive Director's Report.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman, thank you so much. I was remiss, and I want to apologize. I want to thank, even though Ms. Campbell, I want to thank Don for all the hard work and thought he went into making that presentation. I also want to thank Mr. Dawson and Mr. Corliss for their out of the box solution for the Villa Well situation. And we have started, Mr. Rose has started with a AI committee. It's a monthly committee on looking at how we can use AI to better work harder, work smarter, not harder. And it's very exciting. A lot of young, brilliant minds as well as older minds are in that committee, and we're looking forward to the fruits of all that committee's labor. But with that, I have nothing else, sir.
Okay. Mr. Pugh, Attorney's Report.
Nothing further to add.
Good. And that brings us to item 13, unfinished business. Unfinished business brings us to new business, and we've got item A, gravity sewer policy. Mr. Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir.
As we've been talking about gravity drain sewer, what I've observed is what our policy, unwritten as it may be, is that so many new units have to be built before the developer is required to install gravity drain sewer. But that same developer can reduce the size of their large project so that they do not install gravity drain sewer. And I'm concerned that that is happening and is getting ready to happen in my backyard. And so what I like to do is I like to empower staff to make policy that would require gravity drain sewer at a minimum number of units as opposed to that number that we have now, which is 65. And I'm not sure what that number would be. So I would like to refer it to staff to come up with a policy that would better reflect developers not being to circumvent the policy, but actually more times than not install gravity drain sewer when they have a plans to do a project that would be large enough for gravity drain sewer.
And just off the top of my head, I'm making an assumption that Mr. Hayden and his staff already have like that number, like our number right now is based on minimum or maximum numbers required for gravity sewer. So I would be, and Mr. Hayden, you want to speak on that real quick? I know we got some questions, but.
Yeah, because I don't know if, I think he's been in compliance with whatever the board has been directing him to do, but as it turns out, developers are, don't want to say weaseling, developers are not necessarily complying with that big number by building smaller units at a time that allow them to use less than gravity drain sewer systems. Help me out,
Mr. Hayden.
Yes, Mr. Chairman and Mr. Williams. So there is a practice that we have, and that was based off of the cost per connection, where what we developed and knowing what the lift stations cost on our on some of our developer projects. Based on that cost per connection, we came down to 65 units. Any subdivision with more than 65 units, that cost could be distributed to, bring down that cost per connection. We were looking at what the impact would be to builders, to developers, things like that. So those kind of elements need to be kind of brought into a formalized policy instead of just a practice that we're we're doing. And I think that, correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Williams, that's kind of what we're doing, or what you're wanting us to do is part of it. The other part is, how can we circumvent if we drop the number to 50? Um, Developers, for instance, would say, well, I'm going to put in 49 units just to avoid having to put in a lift station or go with gravity. So, we can look at what's a reasonable cost per connection. I think the economics are going to play into that. I think there's going to be some items there that ECUA may want to cost participate. If it's gravity sewer that's extended 1,000 feet, just throwing out a wild number there, would it benefit ECUA to cost participate? Just things like that. When we review what our policy is, things like that is something that we could bring forward to the board for its consideration and make things more formalized. I believe that's what we're trying to achieve here. So, and I don't want to put words in Mr. Williams' mouth, but is that correct?
I do want you to take the lead as staff and basically not allowing developers to do that and having more units with gravity drain sewer installed. So how we do that, please advise, but at the end of the day, that's what we want.
So in this, having a little experience on the development building side, here's the challenge with this, and I'm not in disagreement with you, but when you go to the Board of County Commissioners, Santa Rosa County, Escambia County, talk about impact fees and how many builders and developers are opposed to that. And I always correct people quite frequently. I'm like, builders and developers aren't opposed to impact fees. They could give a rip whether or not you have an impact fee or not. They're adding it to the homeowner. Then you get the elected officials, county commission, mayor, et cetera, talking about attainable housing, because you can't use the word affordable anymore, because apparently it's not affordable, so it's attainable. As I get corrected when I use the word affordable. And then you look at 35+%, there's multiple surveys that have gone out that says 25 to 30%, sometimes higher, of the cost to build a house, is in red tape, building departments, permitting, tap fees, things of that nature. So anything that we do here and the county does is simply going to make housing more unaffordable. So I always caution everyone when people are up here on the soapbox talking about attainable housing, and then they just voted for impact fees or some other fee or an increased tap fee, which will 100% be put on that perspective, first-time homeowner, new homeowner, affordable housing. So I think we need to tread carefully. It needs to be fair. I like the way our current system is when it comes to cost sharing. So we have a builder developer who's going to be developing a subdivision, and we have an opportunity to say, hey, look, we're going to get sewer in an area that may not have sewer. We're going to get water in an area that may not have water, and the builder's paying 100% of the cost. So we're going to offset that just a little bit to increase the line and the capacity. So I like that, but I'm real hesitant on, because I agree with you, Mr. Hayden. I mean, if you say 65 and you rank us to 50, then someone's going to say 49 and or 50, and then is that the number? So I certainly would like, I'm sure we can all agree to have staff research that a little bit and find out what that magic number is without loading 300 HBA members in our conference room here. That may be an exaggeration, maybe 500 on here when we're talking about raising development costs and so forth up there. So anyway, that's my 2 cents. I have Ms. Benson.
Well, if Mr. Williams has, that is his motion, that staff come back with some alternatives regarding that number, I will second it. I rather than creating more septic tanks in new development, I like the idea of finding ways to encourage having gravity sewer, and I think it's a great initiative. And I also know that if we, allow the septic tanks, what's happening is we're throwing away communities in Myrtle Grove and other places that could be rehabilitated, and we're already having to repair the systems. So I think this is always a tricky question, affordable, attainable housing and so forth. But I think Mr. Williams is onto something that's also important, and that is to do what we can to encourage the extension of our sewer system in new development as we go farther and farther from the core and the already built environment. So if it's a motion, I second it.
And so let me just get some clarification on the motion. So, Mr. Williams, so we're looking at having staff research or look into current ECUA policy on determining what number of houses would require gravity sewer.
We really want to give staff the flexibility to we want to give staff the flexibility to work with developers in installing more gravity drain sewer houses, build more gravity drain sewer houses in the area, and whether that includes sharing in some costs for whatever reason, then just the flexibility to come back and say how best to achieve that. Because a couple points you made about the developer going to pass the costs on, but the developer doesn't necessarily tell you, like with the low pressure system, in 10 years or so, you're going to have to buy another pump. But that's not the developer's responsibility at that point. It's the homeowner's responsibility. Gravity drain sewer is installed and you never think about it again. And that's for generations to come. So it is the better way to do it. Whoever that developer is that has to share in that cost, and that homeowner benefits, and generations, whoever the next buyer is, also benefits. Whereas if you do it any other way, it's a temporary fix for the problem of wastewater. And as there are environmental concerns that still have to be addressed as well.
So are you making it that you want staff to be the sole determining factor on when a subdivision gets gravity? I just want to make sure I want to make sure I understand the motion.
The motion is simple. We're asking staff, this is the motion, we're asking staff to go and determine what would be a better policy for gravity drain sewer in Escambia County for the purpose of increasing gravity drain sewer in new housing developments.
Okay, so okay, I just want to make sure. So staff, okay, we're directing staff to put a presentation together on what your suggestions would be to modify our existing policy to encourage more gravity sewer.
Yes, sir. That's my understanding as well. And for the motion.
Absolutely, yes, to the point. Thank you.
Ms. Campbell, did you have a question?
No.
Mr. Perkins.
Well, yeah, and this is a good idea with a lot of complications. I mean, like Mr. Hayden said, somebody's always going to try to game the system. You know, and anything we do like this, we should include the stakeholders. And Mr. Woody was real good about involving everybody, getting a bunch of feedback, and then bringing something forward. And the one thing that they hope more than anything is having the rules change midstream on them with little predictability. And so this, in my opinion, if we do it, would not be a 1 month deal. I mean, it would not be something we're having, next board meeting or two or whatever. I don't know how long staff would need, but I would think it would have to be, collaborative so that they can actually look for ideas with the developers, which would make it easier for them to go to gravity sewer and not something just imposed without little thought about just what we think would be best. I think it take professional engineers a lot more study to do it. So I can support it hesitantly, but I think we need to tread cautiously and make sure we take the time and establish the communication to do it right. That's it.
And I can concur with you, Mr. Perkins. I can support it, cautiously as doing some research, because before we jumped in any gun, we just changed our engineering manual. I mean, we literally just got that, and that was through a lot of trials and tribulations and so forth. So something like this, when you say cautiously, I don't think everybody fully understands the ramifications of something like this. And I mean, you think fluoride was a hot button. Like I said, trying this would get a lot of public participation. I can assure you, a lot of pink slips and public participation. Like I said, but as far as researching it, having staff look at it, and coming back to us, I mean, I personally speaking, I don't have an issue with that. looking at a study. I think studies are always good, and an informed board is a good board. So with that, Mr. Williams, I think you made a motion.
Well, I just would like to say, I would like all the stakeholders, to be involved in the, in the talks, because, I want to know how it's going to affect people and how it's going to affect affordability as well. I mean, it's important.
And one thing,
I'm the last person that wants a grinder pump, but somebody might want a grinder pump, and that's not me to tell them that they can't have it if they want it. So, I just want the stakeholders to be involved in the talks.
I have lots of residents in my district that would be very supportive of making it as difficult as possible to build new subdivisions in my district, which is what this would basically. So you've got the pros and the cons, because make it unaffordable to develop a subdivision and stopping the growth. I'll stop on the bandwagon getting the state involved too, but on something like that. But anyway, I think you've made the motion. I think Ms. Benson has seconded it, so please vote. Thank you, Mr. Hayden. And it passes 5-0. I look forward to that report. Moves us to item 15, board communications. I see no green lights on here.
I did.
Okay,
Miss. I just wanted to piggyback on what our administrator said about Mr. Rizet. People go into the future kicking and screaming with change, and we haven't done that here. And I think that's because of the way you sell it, and I appreciate that, because I'm trying to sell things right now, as you know, in my office, and it's not easy sometimes to get people to make change when it comes to technology. So thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Ms. Campbell. Moves us to our second and last open forum, and Mr. Downs has left the building for his Blab TV show. So I have no further pink slips. So it moves us to item 17, which is adjournment.
So moved.
And I just have a bunch of folks, I think.
Second.
Ms. Benson, Ms. Campbell, seconded. Please vote. I'm guessing this is going to be unanimous. Just taking a hunch.
Yeah.
Dun, dun, dun. I should vote no, Mr. Wood. Just like, you know what I mean? I'm not going to steal your thunder. And it passes 5-0. We are adjourned. See, you can do that. I did it. I hit it, man. I hit it. I looked over at you and I said, I'm going to hit this thing hard, man. I want to hit this. Oh, yeah.